Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to episode 110 of Hash Church. Just got caught up a little bit in the chat room there. Thus, we're starting about a minute off time as we normally do. Let me just get everything going, get the invites in, get the chat muted right off the bat, which is always send that out over to Chimera. Send this one out to the Facebook crew. Send this one over to Mr. Jean, Mr. Indra. I think that's about it right there. That should bring some people into the room. Got a good amount of people chatting in the old chat room today. Yeah, we started it out a little funny. Someone was asking a question on how much money we will make more money if Opposition 64 passes, if OMA, the bill passes. And I said, if you honestly think that the people who spend their 4 hours a day coming for nothing, not to be paid, not to make any money, to come and share their time and energy with you, if you honestly think that our mission is to manipulate laws so that we're making more money, I beg you to stop watching Hash Church right now. Just turn it off and go jump into a pool or something. I don't know, but that's definitely not the issue at hand here. Welcome, Etienne, to the room.
You mean we're not doing this for the money, man? Come on. I mean, I thought, all that sponsorship money that we're getting and all these tons of money that we're making doing this, volunteering every Sunday. I mean, my bankroll's just deep, dog. It's crazy. I can't believe how much money I wish I'd make.
Borderline, that's pretty insulting, actually. I'm not going to lie. Like, holy shit. Like, hey, look at that crew. We got a big crew coming in today. Not only a house, but he brought Chimera Duck and Robert Mouse with him. So
howdy.
Well, hi, gang.
You got a whole gang?
That makes
the myth and the rumor is, but we'll see what happens.
The myth and the rumor. Well,
The
I like it.
toe gang.
Oh man, look at that crew. I mean, Sam, you get to save a lot on smoke if those are your actual guests.
That would be true if either one of them had any smoke.
Of course, you're the provider, and blessings for providing. Hey, it's official. I officially beat the government. It happened officially. They've signed it. So I'm here celebrating. They actually tried to screw me last minute, people. The government changed the language in the settlement to without prejudice, which means they could have come at me from another angle or from 280E or through another case. But I had to go into court on Monday and say, throw that out and challenge the government again. And they were pissed. And then next thing I know, Tuesday, they sent across the paperwork with the with prejudice language, which means not only can they not come after me, I have immunity.
Wow.
Big victory.
And you were promised that because of your pro-OMA 64?
Oh, yeah, only because I'm pro-64, man. Otherwise, if I was against 64...
it was because he agreed to testify against every other dispensary in California.
Oh, you caught me. Gosh darn it.
Oh, I'm sure Etienne loves that joke. I heard it on Hash Church. I know it's true.
Yeah. That's how we make all that money, man. But no, I have to give major thanks to my my lawyers, Lara and Henry Wykowski. They've been with me for 5 years fighting this, and to actually get that signature from the government and have it filed is beyond humbling. And now I can move on with my life.
Welcome, John.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Indra. Humbled and honored. Hi, Mark. Welcome, Dr. Scialdone.
Hey, guys. How are you? Hold on. Someone's at the door.
Someone's at the
door.
Well, I just want to say is whenever you get challenged in life, sometimes you have to believe in yourself when no one else believes in you. And you have to believe in this plant and your patients when no one else does. So just a further reminder to stay true to yourself and believe in the plant that you love. And anything is possible if you believe hard enough and actually have the right legal team. But just want to say thank you all.
That's the way you have to do that every single day, Etienne. You have to take that same mindset every single day. Otherwise, somebody will toss a banana peel in front of you when you're not looking.
I completely agree, and stay humble through it, and just
And
trudge.
there is a reason why bankers and lawyers end up with mostly everything.
That's a fact, man. It costs definitely over $1 million to fight this thing. I mean, it costs a lot of money. So if you think we're sitting here profiting, that's kind of rich. But you know, you have to do what's right sometimes, and sometimes it takes fighting long time, and it cost me everything, including my private life, you know, along the way. So it's not easy, but at the same time, if you believe in it, anything is possible. And now we move on to 64. I know all these anti people are like, how could you guys actually be supporting this crazy ass law? But too many of us have watched too many of our brothers and sisters go to jail, and I want to see my friend Todd get his court case get tossed, and other people stop going to jail for this plant. So yeah, we're going to continue to say yes on 64 as much as you hate it. We got one more Sunday before Election Day here in America. So
I agree with you. I say yes on 64. And recently somebody posted in one of my threads that I'm posting in that Tom Alexander from Simsibia Tips was voting no on Prop 64. So I contacted him. He contacted me back. He says, well, whoever it is doesn't know me. I'm voting yes.
Yeah, Tom's been one of the earlier supporters of it, you know, and have been very fortunate to, you know, see him constantly put out more information. And you know, this is the problem that we're having with these prohibitionists who want to see prohibition continue, is they're just making up lies, direct lies and misinformation, trying to confuse people with no you know, thought of the truth in any way, shape, or form, because most of them haven't even read 64. They're just believing what people are telling them and trying to stave off with lies and misinformation. So
I thought the government did that sort of stuff.
Baba Rob,
Well,
welcome.
that in churches.
That in churches, yeah. Oh shit, are we a church?
Welcome, Rob. How are you, sir?
Alive and well, thanks.
Alive and well.
That's good. How was Turkey? You were a very diligent man.
Yeah, I did a lot of time in Turkey this summer and this autumn. I just got back, really, and yeah, it was good. It was good. I got along well with everybody. We got a lot of work done. It was nice. So.
And how is the crop there in Turkey coming along?
It's all peace and love. So very good.
How is the crop in Turkey coming along?
Everybody got what they wanted, I guess. Their seeds. That's farming, you know. Seeds get eaten by birds, and sometimes your fiber plants get gray. You know that stuff that happens when they get little gray mold spots. So there's nothing you can do about that. We can bleach it later, I suppose, but that's not the point. Its value as a crop is knocked down, and yeah, farmers have to suffer with these sorts of things. So, yeah.
The weather. They weather the weather.
They weather the weather. Some do better than others. So.
Well, I saw some of the photographs that Robert took of the harvest and of them preparing the fiber. Was that from last year or this year?
That's this year.
This year? Well, let me tell you, it was beautiful golden. It was really, really, really quite nice.
Is it field retted or is it soak retted?
They were pond retting it. Maybe they do it in the field first to dry it and free the leaves and stuff, but then they were pond retting it.
Yeah, it's definitely pond retted. All of it.
So
For
are
those
they
of you watching that don't know what pond retting is, they lay the hemp down in water, and it just it removes it eventually, I guess, it creates bowing. Is that what it does? The fibers released from the cellulose to a degree.
it softens
That's a bowstringing is a test for whether it's retted long enough. But yeah, basically it lies in the water. Bundles of dry hemp stalks get put in the water, submerged, rocks laid on them or whatever. I'll show pictures of this sometime, but soon probably. But I just wanted to make a schedule to do it, because that's sort of the format we talked about doing. And you have somebody else going on later today. So yeah, we'll do it. But I got something I can show you, some things about the whole fiber process.
So
Awesome. Yeah.
what are they doing with that? Are they processing into rope, into fiber? Or?
Yeah, this is an area that still does it for rope. I visited rope making areas in 4 different places this year. They all did a little bit different. The whole rope trip is far out, but cultivation's where it's still done is the way it's been done for a long time. I don't think anything's changed much at all. And the rope making is the same. But each area has different ways of making rope. Not surprising. But.
So by soaking it in these large pools, people, the lignin, which is a natural glue, tends to soften, and it's able to actually, you peel the fiber directly off of the hemp herd.
It swells the fiber is what it does. Water does not dissolve lignin. Lignin is very insoluble in water. So what it's doing is it's swelling the fiber, and as the fiber swells, the fibrils will tend to separate.
Very nice. Well, luckily hemp has much smaller lignin concentrations than say trees.
Right,
do.
a whole lot lower. And so as much lignin is in trees, they need to add chemicals to stoichiometrically remove it.
Yep.
And so
Why
it takes about,
are so nasty.
yeah, it takes about 10 times the amount of chemicals to pulp and paper wood because there's so much more lignin in there as opposed to hemp. Hey, Rob, are they crushing the seeds and making oil too?
No.
They're not?
No. They know about it, but that's not a tradition there. They don't really eat them either.
Hmm.
So they're not growing it for food purposes.
Not in this particular circumstance. No, it's for sowing seed. And the only other production I've heard about that's sort of for food use is for bird seed. And people basically didn't eat it there. They may have a long time ago, but recent historically, the last 100 years, you do read about linseed oil presses, but yeah, more common probably than hemp seed oil.
Do they even bother collecting the seeds?
Yeah, sure. Nothing goes to waste. I mean, of course they would.
I was going to say, what do they do with the flowering tops?
So if they have excess, they would do something with them, I suppose. Feed them to the chickens, whatever.
It's a threatened landrace variety too, so it needs to be saved and repropagated.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get seed. They can't go buy seeds at the market. They need their own seeds.
Would that be a variety that would do well here in the U.S., Rob?
Maybe, depending on where you are and what your regulations are, but yeah, maybe. It's not EU certified or anything like that. It's not.
So do they have processing equipment there, or are they sending it to another country for processing?
No, they do everything they need to do right there.
By hand, the old-fashioned way.
So fields are close to the manufacturing facilities, or is it just all going to be done by hand mostly?
As close as possible, and everything, almost everything's done by hand these days. Anyway, so yeah, there's never been any big mechanized farming in this area. Even 40, 50 years ago when it was big business. Now all these areas were, there's 19 provinces where hemp was grown not that long ago. It's just less and less every year, really. So, but it's all legal to do in those places, so make a comeback, I suppose. That'd be great. Be excellent. But in most places, like in most places in Eastern Europe, it's just on the decline. There's no big areas that are growing it. It's not even as much going on as Eastern Europe. So.
Was this French EU seed that you were using?
No, this is a landrace. It's grown there forever.
Okay, just perpetuated by local farmers, and so you're able to get enough stock to do the fields.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, we lost Bubbleman. How did he get bumped from his own church?
This is a rare situation.
I don't know, but if Bubbleman's gone, then I want to bring out a brand new part of the church.
Oh, well.
Deposed the bubbles.
There's all kinds of theories in the chat that he was stolen by the Russians.
Rule number 1 is we can't talk about bubbles ever again.
Yeah.
So first rule of Bubble Church, no bubbles.
Oh, here he comes.
There he be. There's Houdini.
I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened there. I got completely bounced. I thought it was over. I was like talking to the chat people. They're like, no, it's still going. You just got to get back in there. I was like, okay.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, bounced out of my own church. I felt like I had some good shit to say there too.
So you missed it. Sam decreed a new rule, Mark.
Oh, great.
Go ahead, Sam.
Okay. We can never talk about bubbles again.
Like tiny bubbles or
Any kind of bubble. You just broke the rule. You're out.
oh man. All right, I'll see you guys later. That was scary. Anyway, what I was saying was that we don't have the traditions here in Canada. So when we started growing hemp, there was really no tradition to fall back on. And I think they really focused on the economics of profit margins. And that's why all that we've done in Canada really has been producing the food, which seems to be the most profitable, which has gotten into grocery stores and all these different things, which is kind of cool because it hurts me to hear of a country that has traditional farming of hemp but doesn't benefit from the essential amino acid rich seed oil that they're producing. The birds know.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating that I have to buy Canadian hemp. And that's what I had.
You don't want to support Canada? You don't want to support Canada? Is that your problem?
I have no reason not to support Canada. However, there's a bad echo.
Probably me.
I just want my full protein oil, and I get it directly from hemp seed oil, and it's the Manitoba hemp that I can get directly from my, my store. So fortunately, at least, you're growing hemp, and we have access here in North America. Prior to that, the only hemp seed oil I could get was German, and I was paying a lot more for it, needless to say. And I'm very thankful to have,
I believe the food aspect is ultimately the economic driver for taking back the earth that's being used to grow soybean, and it's going to be switched over to hemp, because if you have to grow protein per acre, it's hands down the winner.
Right.
Life cycle analyses have been done to show that this is not only better for the planet, it's a more sustainable way to feed more people who are living on less arable land to be able to produce food.
And that's the reason.
And the wonderful thing is the byproduct of this food production is the fiber and the herd and all that. So it's a complete economic winner. And I don't understand. Again, I think
the best thing about 64 is that it's also going to allow for hemp production in California, which means the Central Valley can grow this, and we can actually have a high protein vegetation that people can start looking as an alternative to beef, pork, etc. Because the reality is we're spending way too much money in methane using cows and chickens and pork that are massive.
Well, a lot of that protein is going to end up into animal feed to feed those animals, truth be told.
Correct. And did you see also that they found that if they add a small percentage of seaweed to their animal feed, it reduces their methane almost by 90%?
I would only mention that when you plant for seed, you're not really growing like really great fiber. Planting for fiber is quite different from planting for seed. You plant it much tighter, and it grows differently. The fiber, and maybe Rob obviously will know a lot more about this than me, but you get more of a woody fiber when you're growing for seed. Is that not correct, Rob? Maybe Rob's not there now. Either way, in Manitoba, when we planted for seed, the plants were very spaced out compared to when we planted for fiber, and the fiber was much nicer, at least from what we grew back in the 90s. So, and the only other thing I would add is that, hemp is going to be superior in so many different ways, but there's an infrastructure that still needs to be put in place for hemp to be processed, on the level that, say, soy is being processed. And right now we don't have that infrastructure. So although you might save and it might be better, the amount of money that people are actually going to have to put out initially is going to be like very big, like an enormous amount of money.
And you're not going to see a lot of these manufacturing companies start like John Deere and International Harvester until you've got 1 million acres growing. So that's going to take some time before. I mean, that's what they told us back in the 90s. They wouldn't even look at that type of equipment until that type of acreage was, in consideration. So you know, having California pass 64 and having hemp growing would be a step toward that direction. There's no way we'd have 1 million acres, but there would be a industry that would show other states that how viable it could be.
Right.
And that's it. It's all about showing viability, because you have to show something that the farmers want to grow. Otherwise, it's just, you know, fluff and bunnies. It has to be economically viable and sustainable for them over the years for them to grow it. Otherwise, they're just going to grow other crops that are economically more beneficial.
Imagine that, those dirty bastards. Hey, Etienne, if you send me 5 pounds of hulled seeds, I'll separate it into oil and little round popcorn things for you and send it back to you.
Do it. Yeah, you won't believe that shit. That is some next level stuff, which was hilarious because there's nothing on the market currently that is of the quality of what he'll make you just from purchasing some shit at the grocery store and running it through his own extraction process. Like, that's pretty crazy considering some of these companies have sold for over $100 million. And right now, John's sitting on the technology that could basically either A, put them all out of business, or B, improve the quality of their business to a level that is that I would say in the least substantial. It's kind of funny.
Start hammering them, Mark. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I contacted the Compass Group, who was they bought my friend's company there, the Manitoba Harvest, and then they said, oh, well, we'll hook you up with your friend. He still works with us, and you know, he just has not wanted to contact me, let's just say. And I think it's amazing because this is something that could increase the quality of his product. And I think he's afraid, to be honest.
He's ashamed because he fucked you. And he
something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Hey, Rob, I'm reading here, Turkey is just got the IUCN bulletin, says the government is going to promote controlled cannabis production in 19 provinces in Turkey. Great job, Rob.
Wow. That's
muted.
Oh, is that what's going on?
Yeah, Rob's muted, apparently. Rob and
Yeah,
Skunk.
they have a lot of echo.
Well, I put my headphones on, so I shouldn't be the echo anymore.
Yeah, you were, and you know, it's better. It's much more gooder.
And then just muting the mic when we're not talking and unmuting it when we are, which is, I'm sure they can do if they need to talk.
Well, I was wondering if that was his test crop. Rob, did your test crop lead to these 19 provinces in Turkey now allowing?
You hear this now?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, this has nothing to do with me at all. This is what the law has been since they started the hemp growing licensing program in 1981.
Wow.
There really has not been any major change to it since then. I'm not quite sure why it made the September news, but yeah, now just everybody knows about it, and before people didn't, which was in a way hampered it from being quite as large as it might have been also. But hemp has not been grown there very much over the last 40 years, just like everybody else, everywhere else, for the same reasons. It's basically economic. There are other crops they can grow and make more money with that are less work, and they can buy the products that formerly they had to make. Now they can go out and buy plastic grade sacks and plastic rugs and plastic rope with the money they make from growing other crops. So that's the economics of it. That's the economics of China and Russia and every other country that are traditional hemp grower or state-supported hemp growers or whatever. There's no difference. That's basically the crude economics. So that's why it's come down to what it is, which isn't very much. But it's possible in all those states, and there's still some heavy things going on, like rope making there, even if there isn't very much being grown. So yeah, there's little bits going on here and there. That's why I like to go do these things and record them before they disappear completely. So that's part of that.
Well, thank you very much. I was rather surprised to hear that they've been doing it since '81, which means it's 25 years of the research that they've been doing. Has the government doing the research there in Turkey?
There's no research.
None at all.
Just
So
the licensing system that the farmers can apply for very easily when they want to grow hemp.
well,
That's what that rules are saying. The government hasn't changed anything else. There's no research implied in anything you've read. And that's the government has done various other things, but that's not been a lot of hemp research going on in Turkey. Let's just leave it at that.
do you think this type of news would bring economic interest to Turkey now, or not?
No, it'd make people learn what I just said.
Now, you've been on boots on the ground there, so you know that we've been only aware that there was a attempted coup there in Turkey. How was it on the ground there with the people, with the uncertainty going on around you, or the purging that seemed to be going on by the government after the fact?
Well, the people are really nice. The people I work with all the time there are the same people, and countryside people are generally really nice also. So, yeah, as long as you let people know what you're doing, the forces that be are fine with everything. It's all good.
I don't know a ton of people from Turkey, but I'll tell you, if Amir is any, if he is to be compared, he's one of the nicest people I've ever met from anywhere.
That's absolutely true, and there are lots of really nice people there, and this situation doesn't really change that. The one thing that's really changed is there aren't any tourists there. So if anybody who's ever thinking of going, there's no better time. You don't have to wait in line for anything. Prices are better for hotels than ever, and you don't have to wait. Once again, you don't have to wait in line for anything. For buses or planes or trains or museums or anything. So, and the food's great. So it's really a perfect time to go. That's my plug for the Turkish Tourism Agency.
What's your favorite food in Turkey, Rob? What do you eat usually?
I don't know. I'm a lamb eater, so I eat various forms of lamb. But I guess my favorite ones are ones that get stewed for a long time. But I like kebabs. I like barbecues, so I like all that sort of stuff. And yeah, that's good. And the breads are really good there because they're different. Pretty much everywhere you go, there's a regionally different bread. Not pretty much everywhere you go. It's just how fine are the differences. Is it by province, basically, or by county, or by neighboring village?
They're all unleavened, yes?
Yeah, they're almost all unleavened breads, but they're nice and stretchy and very nice. They're fantastic. They're all variations on non-breads, essentially. But yeah, wonderful. So
Well,
it's really good. Really fresh. Things are close to the farm. That's what I like. It's big country, but they grow stuff all over the place, and they ship things quickly around their own country. I mean, if peaches come from one place and apricots come from another and grapes from another, yeah, sure, they get them all over the country to people, but they're still really fresh. They're not compared to what we get all the way up the road here in Holland. So yeah, it's really good quality food. I really like the place. Friendly people, good quality food. Not too many tourists.
hard to beat that.
Yeah, really.
Did you notice a lower in tourism due to the destabilization there, or is it just normal as usual?
No, tourism is not just lowered there. It's almost dead. Almost dead. Now, half the employees in the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, this is one of the great shopping destinations on the planet and has been for decades. They had at the peak there not long ago 2,500 employees, 25,000 employees in there. And so far they've had to lay off half of them. And about a third, not that many yet, about a quarter, 20% to a quarter of the shops have closed or are about to close. So that's all supported by tourism. That's just a direct indication of the economic blow right there. But they're not the only merchants, of course, dealing with tourists, but they're
How are
they pay $1 million to have a shop there. So.
How are the locals dealing with the collapse economically without the tourism?
So far, they're still waiting for it to all sink in. Next year's tourism is going to be increasing, but it's not going to be anywhere near what it used to be. Big tour companies aren't, in my opinion, okay, I'm not in the tourism business, let that be said, but it seems to me that big tour companies would have booked things by now, and there's been no prediction of a big upturn in tours and things next year, which are economic indicators in the business, I'm sure. So I would imagine next year independent tourism, like me, that'll be up again and continuing to rise. It has been a little bit recently. And tourists from East Asia, Japanese, Chinese, Korean tourists are there, are the ones who are there, of the few who are there, and Arabic nations.
Sam, what are you coughing on? Because it's got you coughing.
It's not me. I don't cough. Even when I smoke 1,000% pure hashish.
Well, then who's coughing?
It's Mr. Ryan.
I am going to go now, so I'll talk to you guys later. I might chime in from home, but I'll see, but I'm going to walk home. So.
Much love, Rob. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. I'll cough with Chimera. Woo!
So it's cough mira.
It's cough mira, yeah.
Well, what is cough mira actually coughing on?
He's got some resin with a bunch of added linalool and myrcene. He calls it Mary Lou.
Is Chimera Pinocchio or Donald Duck?
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
Okay, so Donald Duck is Rob?
Yes.
Absolutely correct.
Because he's ducking awesome.
Ducking awesome. And when he gets really high, he tends to talk like Donald Duck.
Also true.
As long as it's not Donald Trump, we're okay with that.
Oh, he who shall not be named was named.
Yeah, you got to mention Voldemort, didn't you?
I'm sorry, was I not supposed to say that?
Remember, everybody, it's just a ride.
And at least we're enjoying it, right, Mark?
God bless Bill
We're
Hicks.
enjoying the ride.
If there's a God, God bless Bill Hicks.
Hey, Mark, have you been watching the fish shows?
Yeah, I actually impressed all my friends when they were playing. I watched the couch tour when I was in Toronto last week. I think they were in Georgia or something, and they played the whole concert and then they left. And my friend was like, "Oh, that's it." And I'm like, "No, they're gonna come out and play like Loving Cup or something." And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, we're gonna get an encore or two, and I think it'll be Loving Cup." And she's like, "Well, how could you know that?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't. I just have a feeling." And then they came out and played it. I was like,
Yeah. And Alpharetta last week. Yeah, Alpharetta was a great show.
Yeah, it was really good.
They play Loving Cup better than the Rolling Stones play it.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, they kill it. They are on fire.
So you're there at the shows, aren't you there, Doctor?
I'm here in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand, and
Nice.
we got 2 more nights of fish. And
So how's it been?
Word on the street is they're doing Ziggy Stardust. That's going to be the album that they're covering for Halloween. So, throw out to the Thin White Duke who left.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
He was an incredible musician that had an incredible impact on everything that came after David Bowie was different.
Yeah.
And it's a great throw out to him. So yeah, Ziggy Stardust.
Nobody could do it like Fish. I will honestly say, having seen them play the double White Album just for a second set in Glens Falls, New York in 1994 for Halloween, which was their first real sort of like, let's wear an album as our costume.
So in 94 it was the White Album. In 95 it was Quadrophenia. Who's Quadrophenia?
Yep.
96 it was the Velvet Underground Loaded, right?
That's right. Yep.
And they did Remaining in the Light in 98, and then they did the Rolling Stones album Exile on Main Street in 2009.
Right.
Waiting for Columbus in 2010, and in 2014, last time we were here 2 years ago, they did the Thrills and Chills album which was a Walt Disney produced album of nothing but narration.
Yeah.
And spook. There wasn't a note of music on the album. And so they just laid down a whole new track of music for this narrated album that had no music on it whatsoever. So yeah.
And then don't forget 98 in Vegas when they just played that set was like Dark Side of the Moon or something. They play like
yeah, they've done the Dark Side of the Moon. I thought that was in the middle of a
it was like exactly. It was just like start of the set, Harpua went right into like just let's keep playing this whole thing.
They played the whole album. Yeah. That's great.
Good old Harpua. You know what they teased Harpua in '94 at Glen Falls with? It was Black Sabbath.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Anyway, Mark and I have now had our fish reminders.
Yeah, we can turn off the fish switch.
Hey, welcome to Johnny B driving in his truck here at Hash Church.
Johnny.
Or maybe he's frozen, I don't know. But welcome to Johnny B because we never welcomed him earlier.
Yeah, I saw he was over at
I don't know what's going on with my volume.
Niagara Falls. Or he was over at Niagara Falls. Is he on a little Canadian excursion trip?
Something like that. Sorry, I'm trying to talk quieter because for some reason now my mic is super sensitive. I'm way far away from it. I have no idea how to turn it down, but I'm gonna troubleshoot while you guys are talking and see if I can't get my mic.
Fine, Mark. You sound fine right now.
Well, I'm really talking quiet too.
Yeah, for some reason your mic sensitivity today is ultra sensitive.
How about now?
It's better.
Really? How about now?
You sounded smaller there for sure.
Huh.
It was more of when when a skunk and them were speaking, for some reason it caused a echo into your mic, which I'm not sure if you have another window open or something with something on, but for some reason it was just a direct echo, and I thought it odd because you have your headphones plugged in, so it shouldn't do that. So that's an odd little. Are you on a Windows or a Mac?
I'm on a Mac, same as every week.
Oh.
Yeah, but I do know that Sam and Rob and Chimera have a new mic that they've set up, so it could be that. I'm just going to mute them, and then they can talk. They can unmute it when they come back.
Well, you sound much better now. Thank you for your adjustments.
Yes, just trying my best. I hate to be. I'm so OCD about sound or any type of technical difficulty that when I see people having them in the chat room, I literally have an anxiety attack because I just want it to stop. I want to be able to fix it. I want it to be, I don't know. Maybe I learned this taping fish because, you know, fish concerts started out as let's eat a bunch of mushrooms. It'll be fun. And it turned into this, if you make a sound, I swear I will stab you in the eyeball with this pen. So, and because I was in the taper section very early on. I went from my first 10 or 15 shows was in the front row. I was obsessed with being in the front row. I always had to be in the front row. And then that turned into back in the taper section and not making any noise, which I'll tell you, not making any noise is hard, especially if you're puffing tough. You know, the sound of even like the flicking of a lighter or the sound of like trying to suppress a cough. Many a times did I have to run out of the area just to cough. Because these people take this shit seriously, taping that show. Sure, you want some audience, but you want your audience to be a natural audience, not like overbearing so close to your mics and making more sound than the band. This is the life of a taper. I'm just telling you.
And it depends on if you're next to the stage or if you're by the soundboard, man.
Yeah, we call it the shut the fuck up zone. And when you're in the shut the fuck up zone, you're not allowed to talk while the band's playing. No. And if you talk, you'll be quietly escorted from the area.
I'm telling you, not only that, but this shit right here would never fly in the taper section. This whole like getting your, oh yeah, I'm just gonna open this up and like, yeah, you'd be fucking gone. Sorry.
No, but they're constantly roasting logs. I saw big fatties going back and forth. So somehow they're lighting them, and they're lighting them very quietly.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely mad puffing. I can honestly say I managed to puff like dabs at a you know, back in the 90s before dabs were really a thing at fish shows. And we would bring those coals and get them lit with a torch and then bring them to the zone, because you couldn't even turn the torch on. Forget about that. And the torch wasn't like a nice looking torch. It was like a giant fucking canister of propane with a big head on it for like welding or something. It was ridiculous, but I can definitely remember doing dabs at fish shows in the taper section.
Yeah, we were doing coals when we were originally getting the oil. That was the only way that we could learn to do that, and you had to let it burn off so all the gunpowder burned off in it and didn't give that funky smell, and then scrape off the white dust. And yeah, that was the next step up from hot knifing it, which I posted a picture of this week of the hot knives in the coils heating up, and I couldn't believe all the responses that people were giving to it, because that was the original use of hash oil back in the day, was, you know, using hot knives. And then the next step up that we had was, due to hookahs, you had access to the coals that would burn evenly and consistently. And yeah, you had to be careful what you put it on, because it could shatter a plate.
You missed the folded up piece of aluminum method.
Yeah, the piece of aluminum with the hollowed out Bic pen and the lighter underneath it. Yeah. You just drop the oil.
Or the glass with the pin on the hash and putting the drop of oil on the hash and lighting it and then capturing it in the glass and sliding it to the edge and going.
Yeah, that's hash under glass. We used to do that, but I remember specifically smoking hash oil by taking a drop of it, like John was saying, put it in on aluminum foil thing, and then you'd hold a lighter underneath, and when it bubbled, you would use like a Bic pen or a straw that was hollowed out.
That's opium method right there.
Yeah,
that's
exactly old school.
That's a straight opium method. That's hardcore, dude.
All right, well, something good came out of opium for a change.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. I'll tell you. Stay away from that shit, boy. Whoo-wee. That shit will grab you by the nuts and steal your soul. Just saying.
Most people that start on that and enjoy it have already lost that shake of the dice before they ever.
I think you're right.
Because it takes a special kind of personality to do something that is self-deleterious. And part of it is complete 100% lack of love for yourself, because all you got to do is take a look in the mirror after a little while. If nothing else shakes you loose from it, looking at what happened to your body from doing it for a little while should shake most people loose. And when it doesn't shake those people loose, those are the people that, like I said, lost the roll of the dice before I ever got started with it.
Yeah, that's well put, John. I mean, how can you deny that statement in all of its exactness? I've seen it many times. I saw a friend smoking opium and thinking it was fine because he never ran out of it. And then once it ran out, he was like on points of heroin. And from there, it was quickly to the streets, crack, meth, heroin, full blown street person, like within 6 months or so of just being like, no, it's just opium, dude. It's like, it's fine. Trust me. I was like, man.
Listen, I watched a lot of guys in Vietnam start off with, hey, want to smoke some opium? Or let's mix some opium with the weed because it'll give you a real slammer. And a lot of those guys went AWOL, and when they were found, they weighed about 98 pounds, and they were in an opium den, laying there smoking a pipe and going off to dreamland because they couldn't shake loose from it.
Yeah.
And I tried it once in Vietnam, and I woke up the next morning laying on the floor, and my hair was stuck to the floor somehow. When I finally got pulled loose from the floor and went and looked in the mirror, I had thrown up during the night, and my hair had dried in my puddle of my own puke. And that was an effective deterrent for me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. For me, it was as simple as the fact that I felt like opium was very much like the alcohol vibe of the dizziness and the not in control, which is why I just never liked alcohol, which not so much not in control, because I was willing to take heroic doses of psychedelics and very much so not be in control. But the way that demon that alcohol tended to feed, I felt like was the same energy that opium was feeding. I tried it once, smoked it, and over the course of a night got seriously fucked up. And then just never did it again. I felt like it was just the worst vibe. I felt like if I moved my head at all in any direction, I would feel like I was going to get physically ill. And my body has always been good to me in the sense of very much disliking all the things that would really do great harm to me, like tobacco. And I can't even drink coffee. Like I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't drink alcohol. I don't really do any of those hard drugs. And that's not because I didn't, think about them or when I was younger, just because my body just immediately said no loudly.
Well, Bubbleman, everybody comes to Earth through a different set of circumstances. And when you come here, this place has some of everything here. You could consider this place the full range or full spectrum from hell to heaven. Those who come here with brown sunglasses see life one way, and those who come with pink sunglasses see it another way. And everybody, it turns out, comes with a slant on when they come here on how they handle things. And you've been lucky enough in your past lives and past karma to have not earned that kind of lesson needing to be taught to you in this life. And so all your sensibilities and connections in your body are turned up high, and you like that feeling. And the feeling of having all that subtracted away from you is distressing, because you didn't come here to have everything subtracted away from your feeling. You came here to experience all the feeling and everything that was available to you in the dense existence of the plane that we're on. So that's why people do those things.
That is very succinct. And I agree. I tried it once and I could feel that this thing could get a hold of me. I could just feel like, oh, this feels way too good. And it was one of those, I don't know, definitely conscious decisions to say, there's something about this that we have to stay away from.
Yeah. See, to me, it never felt good. Like, I don't know. I like how John just put it. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, truly, like, my sensitivities are through the roof. And those substances, they don't, it's almost bizarre, but I almost feel more comfort in the discomfort of a heroic psychedelic dose than I do in the chasing of the dragon. I've just never felt. I've just been like, oh, you go on ahead without me, dude. I'll catch up. Never.
Well, that's because you want to enjoy the champagnes of life. You want to enjoy the real effervescence, the best part of life. And so you're always wanting to connect to that. And it turns out you can't really connect to that part of life and be attracted to the downers. Right. There's a line in the middle. And when you're on one side, everything looks like shit. And when you're on the other side, everything looks bright and cheery. And you've been on the bright and cheery side, except for that piece of paper that you're unfolding next to your microphone there. But you're attracted to that kind of existence. Many people are. I would wager that most of the people who are listening to Hash Church err on that side of it. But you don't get a bunch of junkies joining up Hash Church because they're not interested in improving their mind. They're interested in avoiding anything to do with being awake and having to notice their mind.
I could tell it was at a vibration that I just wasn't on my frequency. If that's the best way I could put it. And again, I agree. Psychedelics were something I graduated to, and I was very fortunate. Again, the first event I did was the 50th anniversary of LSD. So to be there and be around people that, when I worked the front door, everybody was like, hey, you want to try my 50th anniversary of LSD? And I was like, abso-fucking-lutely. However, I'm working the front door, and I'm responsible, because back then, you got to realize, it was 93, and it was $100 for one day for a ticket. So it was hella expensive at the time to get in. But everybody and anybody was there. Alex Gray brought his art and set it up in the, it was at the Unitarian Church in San Francisco. And he set it up in the chapel, and his paintings in real life are huge and are beautifully psychedelic. And yeah, I spent half the day trying to get napkins from people. And then I would have people just drop their doses on the napkins. And I would take a pen, and I would take the pen, and I would bum people's wrappers off their cigarette wrappers. And I would take it and then just kind of scoot it into the wrapper without touching it and rolling it up and putting it in my pocket so I could save that LSD for another day, because needless to say, this was Bear and everybody's 50th anniversary edition of LSD. So the next couple of weeks was probably some of the most beautiful experiences I've ever experienced in the Bay. I took some to Stinson Beach, went up in the hills, just hung out in the house, just a little lap puppy, just of happiness. And psychedelics, I credit greatly for dealing with a lot of my war traumas and getting past all that.
Whenever I speak about psychedelics, I always have to shout out Terence McKenna, because he was definitely one of my earliest and brightest and biggest inspirations, not only from the fact that he had a company where you could buy spores and grow the mushrooms and learn about the mushrooms, but the OTT and OS Eric, the mushroom growers guide from the 70s that him and his brother put out under pen name, the whole figuring it out in Central America when they cleared the area for the cows to create a pasture and those mushrooms popping up. All of those experiences, listening to all his lectures at the Esalen Institute and other areas throughout California, definitely like chiseled me into the person that I am. Because while everyone was just, you know, drinking mad amounts of alcohol and snorting cocaine, I was eating heroic doses of mushrooms and learning so much about myself and about the universe and the way things, or at least they appeared to be working. Maybe not the way they work exactly, but how they appeared to work in those states of mind where I just look at them as so valuable. I can't believe there's not something in our society set up where people can go and have those experiences if they so desire. You know,
it is. It's called life. And what you were experiencing, Bubbleman, was the phenomena of being in the giant bowl where both the curds and the turds pop up. And there you are in a bunch of turds, and you were a curd. And you popped up and you were busy having the curd existence, even though all those turds were around you. You know, people come here for the thing that they get caught up in. And when you were right in the midst of all that, but you didn't get caught up in it. And that's because your body and your vibration weren't willing to devolve into that. You already came here for another experience. So why should? So when you tried that stuff, or when you were even around it, you could take a quick look at it and go, no, thanks, Ninja. That's not for me. I'm gonna pass on that. And that was the same way I did. I never. My dad poured a shot glass of gin down my throat when I was 8 because he thought I was getting into his booze, and it was my brother all along. So from that moment forward, I never had a drink. He always beat the shit out of me while he was smoking a cigarette. And so I never smoked a cigarette. And I used to be angry at him about that. But when he was passing away in the hospital, I realized that his role was to do that to me so that I wouldn't get caught up in that and I would have a different path in life. And so he chose to play that, and he played it magnificently well right up till the day when he was dying. And I was holding his hand when he passed away. And I can tell you that he was both sorry, and at that moment when I explained that to him, he was happy at the same time because he realized that he'd done something good without even realizing it. And so you were doing something good. You were there in this whole load of people doing cocaine and alcohol, and you were busy taking the mother mushroom.
I'll never forget, actually, in my hometown city of Winnipeg, being at the Pink Floyd concert of 1994, the Division Bell. I got floor tickets. I went there and ate way too many mushrooms, as most of the people I knew did. But a big difference was that people were also smuggling like boxes of alcohol into this venue. And I remember being surrounded by, you know, it's kind of trippy too for any of you that saw the Division Bell, because this is before Bubbleman days and really before a lot of the glandular trichome learning that I went through, and before the cannabis cups that I had been to. And so it was kind of this early moment, but where I was sitting on the floor was right next to this giant, it looked like a trichome. It was a giant stalk and it had a big round top. And if you went to the concert, you'll remember this thing opened up like a flower, like halfway through, and it was a disco ball, and it would spin all like light all around this giant stadium with 50,000 people in it. It was definitely trippy, to say the least. But just remembering the protection I felt from being on mushrooms in this ball around me while people were throwing up their alcohol and people were tripping and falling on their faces from their alcohol. Like, it was a drunk fest. And I just had this little psychedelic aura around me that was protecting me. It was really wonderful. Pink Floyd.
You have to remember that a lot of people come here to play the negative roles, so that some of us can have the positive. It's a balance that occurs here. This is a big school, and some people come here to play the fool so that others of us can enjoy a different kind of existence. It's because it's a school,
right?
And so those people that are being the assholes are playing that part out. Like I said, my dad, he played a hard guy for 30 years. Well, I mean, he dropped me off in front of the recruiting station on my 17th birthday, took me out of high school early in the middle of the day, gave me a small bag of clothes and a $20 bill and dropped me off. But all those years later, when I held his hand in the hospital, when he was passing, he was in awe of the fact that I was there with him and nobody else in the family was. No one wanted to stay there with him while he was passing. Not my mother, not my brothers, not my sisters. Everybody just wanted to hear about Dad when I would come in every 4 or 5 days to the house and report on what was going on, because I was sleeping at the hospital. And so all the things that are done in your life will present to you sooner or later. And my dad, at the end, was lucky enough to have come to the understanding that that's what he lived, but it was for a good purpose. And so he found purpose in life, and he was relieved and relaxed, and he was able to let go.
That's heavy for sure, John.
That's beautiful, man.
Finding purpose is the key to existence here, man. You gotta to find purpose. There's a few steps you've got to take. One is you've got to completely learn to love yourself. Only then, when you love yourself fully, will you be able to transmit that to all the people around you. And even at that, it's a school here. And so there's going to be people who are going to come in who are first graders and people who are going to be graduating PhDs when they leave here. And it's just the way things are. I mean, it's a big school. Just do the best you can. Try not to hurt anybody. Don't ever take revenge, and try to get along.
Well, I sure appreciate your perspective, man. I mean, that's to me, it resonates with me very, very strongly that it's just a universal truth. You know, it's like, it's what your grandma would say to you in different words. Just be nice, you know, be nice to people. Don't take revenge. That's definitely, I'll tell you, the few times that I've been snappy online with people, those people have gone the most out of their way to destroy me. So it's like this weird, like, you're like, snap, and then all of a sudden it's like the energy that comes back to you is like 1,000-fold. Best to not snap. I do apologize to anyone out there that I've snapped at. It's tough sometimes, this social media thing, but that doesn't mean I can't be kind and be nice and not be snappy. So I'll take John's advice today.
You're only human. And I was going to say good morning to everybody. I haven't had a chance to say hi. I'm just at the airport and driving around like I always do.
Sunshiny John. Dude, you're
it's beautiful out here. You know, look at that.
What airport are you at?
I was at VGH, Vancouver, you know, the one in Vancouver. I had to drop off Helena. Then I made my way to the North Shore. Now I'm probably about 20 minutes from your house.
Nice. Sunday.
I'm going to come over and smoke some hash with you.
Why does it look so nice where you are? It looks like it's all blue sky.
It's beautiful. I'm just on the other side of the Lionsgate Bridge here, and I came over the bridge and pulled over.
Shit, maybe I have blue sky too.
You got some blue sky. I'm bringing some blue sky to you. I just had to come over and say good morning. I don't have headphones, so I was like, I just have to drive to your house.
All right, dude. Well, I'm here.
I'm on my way. I'll see you shortly.
I know that. Welcome, John.
I love listening to you guys talk and stuff. It's always great to be a part of House Church, and it's always great to be able to, you know, John, you're amazing. Thanks for your kind words and wisdom, as always.
Yeah,
I'm going to put you guys on mute, and I'm going to drive, and then I can talk to you guys more.
Yeah, Indra, thank you. Your words are very humbling and are always a constant reminder. And your sage experience and humility is always enlightening and appreciated. So thank you very much for sharing your wisdom, because I know it's always on point and succinct.
Etienne, I got to tell you, I had the hardest head of all to get this stuff pounded into. I went to India, and it took me 12 years of giving of myself and living in an ashram and walking around barefooted and eating the simplest of all simple foods and getting no money and only surviving off the smiles of the people I treated to pound this into my hard head. It took that much time for me to break down all my defenses and see the real truth. And so I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. I'm standing on the shoulder of a bunch of people in India who lived in a mud hut in a village. And I used to go to those places to treat people all the time. And one of the things I used to notice was I might be going in a mud hut and it might have a stick roof, but the floor was just freshly cleaned. Their clothes were clean. They had bright smiles. They were beautiful people. They had positive attitudes. And so I used to see a guy in India working every day at a motorcycle shop, and it was in a kind of a depression, and he had flip-flops on, and his feet were always in a combination of mud, oil, and water. And I would walk by him on the way to the bus stop, and I would say hi, and he always had the biggest cheese-eatingest smile you ever saw in your life. He would look back at me and smile and say, good morning, good morning. So nice that I felt wonderful by it. And I used to think to myself, he's in a puddle of mud and water and oil, and he's smiling at me.
What does it, John, is the flip-flops. I've been wearing flip-flops every day for 50 years, and that's why I smile so much.
Yeah, but you wear them on your head, though.
No, ask Bubbleman.
It's true, you know. That's the thing about Sam's twisted humor. It always has a level of truth to it, and there's no doubt about it that Sam has been wearing flip-flops like way before since I met him, and including through the winter months.
In the snow.
For
probably
real.
doesn't. You probably found the cure for athlete's foot, so.
I've never had athlete's foot, but my feet never get cold.
Well, you've never had athlete's foot because you're wearing flip-flops everywhere. You go in drugstores in India, you don't see 5 different kinds of athlete's foot cure pills on the shelf. In fact, you hardly see anything on the shelf. But athlete's foot's not a problem because everybody there is barefoot all the time. All the years that I was there and I walked around barefoot, I never had athlete's foot. I came back to the States, took a shower in a motel 2 weeks later, had athlete's foot because the stinking, lousy bums who had that place didn't clean the shower really good, and I guess there was athlete's foot on the floor. Who would have thunk it, right? But there it is.
There it is, right at the end of your leg on your foot. So did you end up offering this guy a foot massage or something with the dirty feet?
No, I didn't offer him a foot massage. When I left India, I had a really cherry 3-cylinder 2-cycle motorcycle that I think it had about 51 horsepower, which is a lot in India, considering you can't go very fast there.
Was it an Enfield?
No, it wasn't an Enfield. It was a 2-cycle one. It was a Czechoslovakian motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
Can't remember the name of it offhand. But when I left India, I gave it to him as a present, and he was all beside himself. He's like, you want me fixed? You want me paint? He had all kinds of ideas about why I brought it there. He couldn't get into the idea that I was giving it to him, but I gave it to him, and I gave it to him because of the smile, because he never really did anything else for me. But that smile, sometimes when I would walk by him in the day, I had one period in time where the local sheriff kidnapped one of my kids for a few months and wanted money. And he was smiling at me every day when I'd walk by him. I would be deep in the not feeling very good about anything that was going on. And I would see him and he would smile, and it would make me smile. And so anyway, I felt that was valuable enough so that when I left India, of all the people I knew there, he deserved to have that motorcycle. Besides that, it was a crazy fast motorcycle. It wasn't something you wanted to give to the orphanage or something.
Right. Well, there goes though. A smile can indeed pay off. Not that you want to give it out for the payoff, but just smile. Give people the smiles they deserve. It's a nice thing to do.
Well, he was happy, and his happiness infected me and made me allow for my happiness. You know, you look inside yourself to find smiles.
Hey, welcome, Archive. Fletcher in the house. I waited for him to put his bong in his mouth and take a dab before I welcome him to the room. How's that? I like the color, though. I also chose yellow today and black. Rocking the same colors.
Bumblebee colors.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I like the orange, yellow, reds a lot. I used to be a green person, but morphed into the orange, yellow, red.
And what about flower to concentrates? Were you a flower person that's morphed into concentrates? Or are you still in both of those worlds?
If my allergies weren't as bad as they are with flowers, I'd be more into flowers still.
Mm.
But like even flower rosin seems to have more of a allergic effect than like bubble hash, because it's been washed in water, seems to have the least allergens on it.
Huh, and you get the whole closing of the throat and the stuffed up thing, red
Mine's
eyes?
mostly like nose, you know,
Nose.
stuffed up nose and stuff like that. I don't get too much like asthma or anything like that. But
Well,
yeah,
Interesting.
it makes it really tough. Like I'm really allergic to male pollen too, so makes my job hard trying to smell weed and use males, and you know, being completely stuffed up makes it tough.
You know, when your nose is stuffed up like that, all you got to do is go to your left nipple, measure down 4 fingers, and right directly under the left nipple. You'll find a sore spot on your rib cage. Rub that counterclockwise, and your nose will come up unstuffed within 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Quite a few people did that last week when you mentioned it. I saw people writing in going, I can't believe that worked.
I have a big knot on my ribs from old cracked rib injury many years ago in that exact same spot, and hasn't cured it yet.
You're not in the right spot.
You
mentioned that male pollen upsets you. So female pollen is okay?
Well, the resin from certain female varieties definitely has an impact, but a lot of my, like, I have a lot of regular allergies too, and a lot of airborne pollen in general, grass pollens and things like that, I'm pretty allergic to as well.
Now, I've met a few people who've had problems with male problems, and a few that also, who even if they touch the living plant leaves of a maturing female, they have problems also.
I have that problem as well. I get hives and rashes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to wear like a beanie, a hooded sweatshirt, gloves, long sleeve shirt to work in the garden and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, I have a friend that even has to wear the mask, the big like breathing mask, as well as the full.
I can't be in a trim room or anything like that. I mean, I can't even walk in there without the full respirator on, not just like a doctor's mask, but an actual respirator.
Brutal.
It's funny because I mean, I could quite literally pour a gallon of male pollen all over my skin, my face, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. In fact, I find it cooling, kind of like baby talc.
Bathing in pollen.
Are you coming out of the closet, Sam, or something?
No, but I will come out if there was a bigger room for me to go into, because this closet is getting really small.
Gay for cannabis.
Man, of course, Sam can bathe in male pollen and not have any allergies whatsoever. That'd be an interesting thing to figure out where that comes from, though. You know, that those allergies. What is it? Is it in the resin? Is it in the plant matter?
It's a hypersensitivity of the immune system. It's an immune response that the immune system thinks that the body's under attack, and so a lot of it's an innate immune response. If it's truly an allergic reaction.
Well, when you're having an allergic reaction, it's because your system has already got all of that it can handle. And now when you put in one drop comes out. And so it's a simple mechanism that's going on there. They've had enough exposure to that, can't stand any more of it. Every little new bit of exposure causes an irritation at the other end.
Well, it's such a complex mechanism that a lot of people have diseases where there's fundamentals of the way it works in our body is broken down or compromised due to other health conditions. So immunology is a very, very complex set of things that happens in the body, and you can't universally, go from one patient to another and see the same type of symptoms or homology in the disease. So
no, you can't. But the thing they've missed on with that is that we all do have a body that's just like all the rest of the bodies. However, the time between you were born and when you started registering the symptoms, a lot of other things happen to you. And so therefore you're diverse and you're different. It's not going to be easy to find somebody else that's had the exact same things happen to them.
Yeah. Well, I've had allergies, since I was basically a teenager, and I didn't have cannabis allergies until I had overexposure. Essentially, it was developed over time, and having talked with my doctors and stuff, and people that are familiar with allergies know about immunotherapy and stuff like that. And what they're saying is that I've also developed an allergy to apples, basically stone fruits, apples, plums, pears, apricots, peaches. And they're saying that those allergies are actually somewhat related, even having a response to them. And they're seeing that now that there's actually a cannabis industry, and there's other people in Colorado that work in the industry and have gone to their doctors, and they're doing more research now into immunotherapy for cannabis specifically.
Well, listen, I had all my life after I went to Vietnam, got sprayed with Agent Orange. After that, I couldn't eat apples, pears, prunes, all the same things that you're talking about. And I was completely allergic. I'd bite into an apple, my tongue and lips would swell up. My gums would swell up and get sore. But as the years went by and I started processing some of that out of my system, and I spent 38 years as a complete vegetarian, lactose, didn't eat any meat, didn't eat any milk or dairy or anything. And as time went by, I suddenly discovered one day that I could take a couple of bites out of a pear and it wouldn't be quite as bad. And a little more time went by, and I spent a little more time cleaning my diet up. And nowadays I can eat apples and pears and all the stone fruits, and I don't have those reactions anymore. So I was actually able to detox my body to the point when and at that point in time, I really thought it was because of the defoliants that were hooked up and were in your body from the Agent Orange that made me sensitive to those fruits. But here you've got a completely different story about it. You weren't in Vietnam, you didn't get sprayed, and you were allergic to them as well.
Yeah, but all the food I could have been eating for the last 30 years could have been sprayed with Roundup just as much. So,
oh yeah,
I'm trying to eventually end up basically, living in sandals all the time, as Sam has already proven leads to a long life.
At least it leads to feet that don't stink.
That too. I've never had athlete's foot either, and I'm barefoot a lot. So even in cold Washington.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys around where I live who absolutely don't wear shoes at all. And dead of winter, I've seen them walking around. I mean, if you're up a little higher up the road, another half mile from where I live, it snows fairly regularly, even in Northern California. And this guy is famous for going around barefoot for the last 40 years. And when I first met him and found out he was 80 years old, he was unloading 6x6s off the back of a pickup truck by himself. And then I said, wow, man, that guy's in good shape. I wonder how old he is. My friend said, yeah, he's 80. He's walking around in bare feet for the last 40 years.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you never know what the difference is between people's body and how things can affect it. That's for sure.
Well, walking around in bare feet is really good for you because all of the points on the bottom of your feet that are reflex points are being pushed all the time by little stones and rocks that you step on. And this is very good for the body. It's like getting a foot massage every day.
But let's face it, John, there's certainly occupations where it's just better to have foot protection than not to have foot protection.
Oh, I wasn't advocating you go barefoot in an acid plant or where they're making car parts or welding. You know, I'm just saying maybe on your way to the welding shop, you walk barefoot and then put your shoes on after you get there.
This is all comedy. I love it. I love the natural, organic way the conversation unfolds on Hash Church. I'm not going to lie. It does make me smile. Maybe it's time to blow smoke towards the Vatican. Does anyone agree upon that, perhaps?
Always.
All right,
I could
then.
go towards the Bellagio here, or the Bellagio, or hey, there's a Trump Tower here in Vegas. I can't believe it. Or the Treasure Island.
Give us a shot out the window, Mark.
You know, I tried to before, but let's see. I'll try this again. It seems to be really bright outside. The sun is shining. Let's see. I'm right off the Vegas Strip. Let's see.
It's pretty bright.
You're locked up in a purple room and the sun is shining?
That's pretty bright. I'm not going to lie. That right there is pretty bright.
Total whiteout.
Can you see anything? It's total whiteout.
I see snow.
Yeah, all I got is my laptop camera, so it's not that great. But
I'm the only one with absolute gray skies and rain here in Oakland.
Oh no, it's raining up here on the West Coast like nobody's. It's pissing down like a horse on a flat rock.
Pretty much.
It's pissing down like a horse on a flat rock. The gems that Indra gives us during Hash Church are just, someone should write a book.
Hey, it looks like Chimera's trying to put something up.
Chimera, what's going on? Should we be looking at that, or do you want us to look at that?
Interview that was done on the Journal of the International Hemp Association many years ago with a doctor named
Shoyama.
Yakashiro Shoyama, yeah. And he discovered a compound in cannabis pollen that causes allergic reaction.
Really?
Yeah, so this is a super old article. You can probably see it, actually. Yeah, I think you can see it on the screen, so anybody can just get the link off of there.
what's the compound, Ryan? Does it say what the compound is?
I'm not sure. It was just something that went through. It triggered, I can't remember, this was a long time ago that I read it. It triggered an immune response, like immunoglobulin E, I think it was. And I don't have my contact lens.
There it is. I am an allergic patient.
There it is. Anyway, old little cue from the literature. There's definitely something going on. There's some compounds in the plant, whether they're in the pollen or wherever else they're expressed, because it's probably more than one pollen more than one compound that people are allergic to.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you think, again, that would be something that could either be bred out, or we could understand that, you know, what pathway makes that compound and try to, again, select for breeds that don't have it to address that issue?
Anything for which there's variability in the population, you can push towards either end of the extreme of that variability. Right? That's what breeding is. You take traits and you push them in one direction or the other. You make more of a compound or less of a compound.
Well, wouldn't it be great to know if that compound is the same compound that's in other plant materials that also elicits allergic reactions? I think, if I remember correctly, Ryan, I might be wrong on this, but I think it was the isoflavonoids and flavones that are in soy that sometimes elicit a allergic reaction to soy-based products. And so they could actually, again, either extract those or make a soy product that's isoflavone free, and it doesn't have the same type of allergic reaction. So yeah, it would be cool to know what compound it is.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, these guys did some interesting work. I think they were involved. They did the early work involved in the biosynthesis. They showed that THC was synthesized through CBG, not through CBD.
All right. I remember reading about that.
Yeah, this is an old, old warrior.
97. Interesting. Well, I'm not sure where Todd went today. I know he had plans to come in.
You can taste the.
Maybe having some technical difficulties.
Hey, John, can you give us an update on what's going on with the extractor? I know a lot of people interested in it, a lot of people talking about it. People are starting to email me.
Huh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So what can you tell us?
Crickets.
Okay.
I guess that's
Yeah,
what
I guess.
he can tell us.
Yeah. Okay.
Crickets. So how are things going down in Washington?
I mean, I just live here, but I work in Oregon, so I think Washington scene is
just fell apart.
Yeah, it fell apart. They killed it basically. I mean, and I know everybody's on the Alma 64 stuff, and I'm not trying to get into that, but I'm just saying Washington's a very poor example of the extreme version of legalization and what it does to a cottage industry.
Right.
I was actually just talking to someone the other day that was picking up some genetics. He was telling me about 3 facilities that he's working on. He kind of consults and does stuff. And he was commenting that he was working on 3 facilities right now that were failed businesses that new people are taking over for round 2 to see who can shake it out, right? And it's kind of indicative of what's happening up here is they've pinned the retailers against the growers. And just like any other agricultural crop, the retailers get the good end of the stick. They have all the purchasing power, and the growers, because they're not unionized, which is what happens to most agricultural products or agricultural commodities, especially perishable ones, they're really taking a big hit. You know, their only saving grace is the tax difference. But for the amount of work they're doing, they're getting definitely the raw end.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on down there, but I remember when many people just were like, oh, it's ending. We have to stop doing what we're doing. We can't do this anymore. Can't do that anymore. Seems like a bum deal for sure.
Farmers don't always get the shaft anymore, you know. 1,000 years ago in Japan, farmers were the top of society. They were the most revered people in the country. And now 1,000 years later, farmers are, catching it in the behind in Japan and everywhere else.
It really happened with the industrialization of agriculture. You know, when everything in the early 1900s, when we started getting machinery and mechanization that could really, we got rid of slaves and got machines instead, right? That's kind of, and I'm not saying that slavery was good, but I'm saying that in a free society, that's a lot of jobs, regardless of who's doing them. And when you mechanize it and commercialize it and centralize it where all the production happens in one place, there's really not a whole lot of jobs left. It's just irrigation controls and some machines that go out there and maintain, and that's it. So it's the small farmer barely exists anymore.
Yeah, you can go buy greenhouse tomatoes, or you can go to the local supermarket and buy, not supermarket, but the local farmer's market, and great, big, fat, delicious tomatoes. Or you can go in Safeway and get those tomatoes that taste just like the lettuce does.
Like nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I think there is a movement, especially in our food industry, to move towards better produce and things of that nature, and helping smaller farms. But it's just it's a fact of economics. It's hard to be competitive doing things by hand and not being centralized and commercialized like that. And it's tough to be competitive as the small guy in that situation. And Washington's kind of indicative of how that would go, because here in very different from Colorado. In Colorado, they had 70-30 rule, where every medical marijuana center in Colorado for the first 4 years of operation till recreational hit, you had to produce 70% of the product of the flowers that was sold at your store. There wasn't a big farmers versus retailers thing. The farmer was the retailer in the case for every shop that was in Colorado for the initial years of the foundation. They did the exact opposite here, where they straight went into an agricultural model, and we're seeing the effects of it.
Yeah, I was in Colorado when that was happening, and the people there were complaining at the time that just because they had a dispensary didn't mean that they wanted to grow, and so it formed a lot of people partnered up, and it's made a lot of strange bedfellows.
Definitely. I mean, it did that, but it also it's secured a more sustainable supply of product. It's very easy to grow too much of anything in general, and once you let everybody grow as much as you can basically pay the government to do, we're going to see overproduction, and that's what's happening here in Washington, and that's why we're seeing these turnover rates. I mean, there's thousands of pounds in backlog in Washington State currently to be sold, and they're harvesting outdoor right now, and there's nowhere to sell it necessarily. And people are paying for shelf space to have your products in stores. I mean, the retailers are getting their rent paid by the producers that just need their product to be on X amount of shelves.
Well, some would say that will promote interstate commerce and the removal of rules so that places where they have less can get from places where there's more.
Absolutely. And that's just strictly agricultural export and import laws, regulations, and what we have done to basically do that with food. But the problem is that once you start having interstate commerce, it becomes a federal, there's legislation in the Constitution and in our Bill of Rights, I believe, that regulates interstate commerce will be somewhat regulated by the federal government.
It's not in the Constitution.
Not the Constitution, but
it's a law, but it's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Bill of Rights. It's not in any of those things. It's a law that Congress passed at one point in time when they thought, for instance, in the South and in the East, they were growing a lot of cotton and so forth. And shipping it around created this idea of, well, gee, if we're going to sell our cotton somewhere else, we need to get tax money, and we need to. And then the people where it was going to, well, hey, if you're going to ship your cotton here, we want to. It was a good old boy deal. Everybody wants to get their finger in the pie.
Well, I'm just looking it up here briefly, and it's the Commerce Clause describes an enumerated power listed in the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. So, I mean, it is in the Constitution that
no, it's in the Constitution that they can make the law, but the law.
That's all that I meant, and all it does is that if the federal government opens up interstate commerce, it opens up a whole lot of stuff in terms of regulation and what they should be doing with that.
All right, who's killing the dog in the background?
That's my dog. I think Johnny B's here.
What's your dog's name?
Well, my dog's name is Oreo. He came with that name when we got him as a little puppy. We tried to give him a different name, but for God's sakes, he really was an Oreo. I guarantee you Johnny B will walk through that door in the next couple of minutes. He doesn't bark very often unless someone comes over, so then he's on it. Oh, there's John right there driving.
He's parking.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. What do I have? The concentration face. Yes, the concentration face.
Hey, I have a question of the panel. I have a patient who reached out to me, and they have a friend who has Parkinson's disease and looking for any cannabis expertise having to do with Parkinson's. So if anybody has any insight, names, or numbers, I would be greatly appreciated to try and help this gentleman to get information.
Okay, well, don't smoke joints that you have to light with a cigarette lighter.
That's for sure.
Well, I think he's looking for a little deeper advice than that.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
And he consumes cannabis orally, I suspect?
Doesn't know about cannabis in any way, shape, or form. So
Oh, wow.
just starting into just found out and has heard about cannabis and Parkinson and was just wondering what was out there and accessible. So I'm just trying to get access to information so that he can educate himself, so that he can take the steps appropriately.
So if we could start a thread in the Hash Church group, and then anyone watching, which is 736 plus people, you guys have any information, a link, a story, whatever, you can put it in that thread that's going to be started over in the Hash Church group, maybe by Etienne here in the near future. So that'd be a great way to involve more people than just the panel, and let those who are also watching that may have advice pass that on.
I will go do and start that right now.
Sweet, sweet. Sounds like a plan. Oh, well, I bet you were going to see Johnny B here really soon. I think he's walking through my house. Sort of looks like my ceiling.
Looks like it.
My ceiling.
Hey, you see that picture that I have up this week?
Yes, the little hummingbird.
That's a painting I made of a hummingbird in my wife's hand. It's the first painting I ever painted with acrylics ever.
It's pretty awesome, dude. I got to say, I thought it was just like a kind of a cool, like old school photo.
Very old. Paintbrush, acrylics.
What's up, Johnny B? Johnny B in the house. This guy. I don't know how you're going to hear. You might have to like plug your phone in to a headphone so you can hear it.
Yeah, that was my problem. My headphones stick here.
Oh no. Well, we might be able to find you another pair of headphones. I don't know if I have a pair myself. Maybe my boyfriend.
Johnny B didn't bring his own headphones?
I don't want to unplug because I think it'll be loud right away. So what I'll do is I will go find a pair of headphones for Johnny B. 1 second.
He was just listening.
All right. So I'm now leaving Hash Church to go find you.
I was gonna ask you.
No, you need to hear, brother. You need to hear.
Otherwise it's awkward.
Can you find me a pair of headphones?
Hi, Johnny.
You running Hash Church now, Johnny?
Well, you figured, I don't think you just jump in here and just get her going. So, this is a beautiful morning. Driving up to the airport.
Go directly to the source. Why not?
I figured, you know what? I don't have any headphones. And I was like, I left them in Toronto. Just got back from Toronto. That was a great little event. We had a great time there. And why not just stop by here? It's a little bit closer. Great to see everybody.
What was going on in Toronto?
We did the Karma Cup, so that was a really great event. I did miss Hash Church that day. That's when I went to go meet Mark, and he happened to not. I screwed up, and then I got a little busy. Now he wants his headphones back.
I do. I figured I can't spend the next 20 minutes looking for headphones for Johnny B. He'll have to turn on his own phone and listen. It'll be fine. It'll all work out. But we will puff a bowl. That's for certain.
Just twist one of the ear things off of yours and hand it to him.
Yeah. I'll get right on that. Here, Johnny B, have a dab. It's been a while, and I don't have water in my pipe. I'm not using water right now.
Are you water?
No, I don't. I want to hit it without water. I've been hitting it waterless. It's actually quite lovely. There you go. Little dabberoo, had it right on the dabber for you, terp dipped and everything. All right. Sorry about that, Yols. Running around.
I took care of it.
Excellent.
Yeah, I wish I could afford a camera.
Afford a camera? Well, I had one, but now it's broken. That's what happens.
My room? Okay, so open that lower drawer.
Not that I'd show my face, but.
Yes. Okay, hold up the phone. So aren't those giant shirts right there?
Yeah. All right, so let's mute Mark. He probably doesn't want us on his conversation. Well, the lag is real today. There's like a half a minute to a minute lag today, whereas opposed, I think it's usually like 8 to 10 seconds maximum.
I got to dial home for a second and help my daughter find a football jersey. I'll be back momentarily, folks.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, we're 10:34. I think in the next half hour we may have our next conversation start up here. We'll see how it goes. Kind of interested in hearing about the Phylos project. Johnny B leaving the extremely hot metal carb cap on top of the bowl. Classic. Burnt my fingers real good, but that's okay. Nothing like yesterday. The tips of my fingers, man. Ho, 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 ho.
Shouldn't do
Oh, there
that.
we go. There's Johnny B. And now you've got your headphones. See, that's all you needed was your headphones.
I know.
That's it, man.
Get some aloe for your
and
finger.
that's real hot when you leave it on the bowl. Get some aloe for your finger. Oh, you know what? Burning the inside of your fingers is nothing for compared to the outsides. That was one of the worst burns I've done in a while. I feel really bad for people who burn themselves. That is no joke. I can't believe the pain I had just from burning 3 of my knuckles with 2nd-degree burns. Pain is real.
Well, imagine if you would have burnt 4 of them. How did you manage to burn 3 of your knuckles, by the way, knucklehead?
Managed to burn 3 of my knuckles? Well, this is how I did it, knucklehead, from a knucklehead. My son decided it was a good idea to take all the cushions off the couch and pile them up against the fireplace while we had a roaring fire. My wife had, of course, closed the gate for safety purposes, so logs don't roll out on him and whatnot. But I ran out. I heard her scream, and then I ran out because my office is right there, and I saw these pillows, so I grabbed one of the pillows, and I went like this, and this whole side of the pillow was like liquefying and on fire. So I went like this, and it splashed all over the top of my fingers, and basically I got burned pretty bad. I threw a lot of, yeah, they were full melt pillows, Chili. They were full melt pillows. Can you believe that shit? Ah, fuck, Chili, that's awesome. Full melt pillows. Dude, that burnt my hand so bad, though. Like, I thought it was going to be way worse. I got to say, the power of lavender, because I should have, last night, just these mild red marks here, 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 and here were all bubbles. They had bubbled up quite badly, and I thought, oh man, these are going to be bad. And I just kept pouring lavender oil just like all over it, and then keeping ice on it for like, honestly, about 10 to 12 hours. I kept replacing the ice on my hand. And today, I have to admit, it's like 80% better. It doesn't hurt near, like it was so painful. Like the nerves just got burnt. And the feeling that is, I couldn't believe such small little burns could hurt that bad. I have a whole new compassion and empathy for glassblowers that post their burns on their hands. And they, you know, they don't look that bad, but they look bad enough that I will forever feel bad for people burning their fingers. That shit is hurting.
Well, you got bubbles on your fingers, and you're a bubble man. So,
dude, I'm not that kind of bubble man. This kind of bubble man.
Yeah, I see it.
Little 6-star for the pipe. I think, yeah. I think that's probably a good idea. Burns are really susceptible to infection. Great. Now I got that to deal with. Vanilla extracts for burns. Yeah, not the fake vanilla. You don't want to be putting beaver terps on your burns.
Yeah, you could just have a pet beaver at home and stick your finger in whenever you burn it.
Yeah,
right?
Beavers aren't going to let you do that.
Well, you got to put them in a very small cage, right?
Oh, God.
Depends on
You are hilarious, dude. My goodness.
It really depends on the beaver.
90 U butter. Oh, no, wait. No, it is 73. That is the 73 SFB.
Is that from a 15-pound beaver or from a 16-pound beaver?
Let me just tell you, this beavers don't mess around. You probably have never been attacked by one. But if a beaver bites you, you're fucked. I don't just mean a little fucked. Bleeding out, fucked.
Have you heard of people being bitten by beavers?
Dude, punch it into the internet.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
You definitely don't want to be bit by a beaver. They take down trees. They fall trees with their teeth.
And fast, too.
That's what I'm saying.
Once a beaver starts on a tree, it doesn't take very long to knock a pretty good-sized tree down. They have some serious incisors on them.
I didn't know they were that aggro. I thought they were pretty afraid. I didn't realize, because nutria rats are where I'm from in Louisiana. They're similar to beavers, and they'll go after you with these big orange teeth. And yeah, you could swat at them with a broom, and they'll take a chunk out of a broom like that.
That's psychotic.
Yeah, well, beavers are not known to be a good animal to keep as a pet, you know.
No, beavers are extremely important in making entire ecosystems. They're called beaver ponds, and the beaver pond creates a whole ecosystem for filtering water and for all kinds of other, aquatic life. And when they fall trees, they do that in areas where there's waterways, and it creates a dam. And the dam basically now creates a whole ecosystem for a whole variety of life.
We have
Yeah, I've heard farmers call them damn beavers. Dams, I mean.
We have at least one beaver attack on a human is known to have been fatal. A 60-year-old fisherman in Belarus. So a beaver bites a Belarus man is the only known.
So beavers kill more people than cannabis.
Correct.
Well, more Belarusians at least.
Belarusians. I like that you want to get accurate with
So
it.
Belarusian beavers is what we're really talking about.
Yeah,
Belarusian beavers
they're way different.
bite bad.
They're way different.
Belarusian beavers bite bad. You're just in time, Todd.
We were just talking beavers.
Just in time for what?
Just in time for Belarusian beaver dabs. Don't ask.
What's up, Todd? Howdy, Todd.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello, Todd.
Morning, Todd.
Hello, Tom. Good
Hello,
morning.
Todd.
So what do y'all want?
We were talking about a Belarusian beaver death, where an actual beaver attacked somebody and killed them, as the only known on the internets. We were talking about beavers, and then I was clowning about beavers, and then they said something about a beaver death, and then look up beaver death, and I looked up beaver death, and it's actually a Belarusian man. And so that's what we were talking about, the excitingness of Belarusian beavers biting.
Your church.
The benefits.
Well, you know, a lot less people will make memes about you, if you do that than if you actually try to legalize weed. So you're probably better off.
You think Belarusian beavers are against 64 is what you're saying?
Oh, I've heard
I think
them.
I made Mark laugh.
They are staunchly against it.
It's bad for the forest, bro.
My question is, was the Belarusian guy in Canada when he got bit, or was he actually in Belarus and got bit by a Belarusian beaver?
It's a Belarusian beaver story. That's what so saith the internet.
Well, it's a Belarusian guy who got killed, but I mean, he might have been in Toronto.
It's very possible.
Though, if they're calling it the Belarusian beaver, maybe it was the beaver that was at home when he killed the foreigner.
From Wikipedia, a beaver attack is an attack on a human or domestic pet by a beaver. Beavers have been known to be extremely aggressive in defending their territory against perceived encroachment. At least one beaver attack on a human is known to have been fatal. A 60-year-old fisherman in Belarus died in 2013 after a beaver bit open an artery in his leg. The incident was described to the media as the latest in a series of beaver attacks on humans in the country, where a burgeoning beaver population has led to an increased aggressive interactions with humans. So it seems to be Belarusian.
There you go, commie. I knew it. They're commie beavers.
Commie zombie beavers. There you go. From Belarus. There you go. There's a costume for Halloween, people.
Oh no, look at Donald Duck is gone.
He duck and left?
He duck and left.
Yeah, when Rob left, Donald Duck left.
We get it. We get it. I like how the scientist always explains everything. It's awesome. It's like beaver dams, beaver ponds are entire ecosystems. Like, I love you, Mark. It's pretty awesome that you're at the fish
I used
tanks,
to go trout fishing. I used to actually look out for beaver dams because the beaver dams basically create a real deep pool that trout love. And if you find a beaver dam,
fish in a barrel.
Yeah, it's really like fish in a barrel. Exactly.
I know all about the old fish in a barrel. Donald didn't like the beaver talk, huh? What's your favorite lavender? Well, that would be French lavender. Le français, lavandule.
So lavender is 50% linalool.
Well, thank you.
It's an interesting terpene. Okay.
Samara back there.
Yeah.
Good morning, bro.
How are you, dude?
I am good. Happily, I'm not getting killed by a beaver.
You know, the beaver talk is just to keep it a little bit, you know, rooted in its Canadian roots. Hash Church, beaver talk.
So is like purple Urkel? Is that smell? Is that linalool?
No, purple. Well, I guess it would depend on which cutting you had, but I found that most of the purples were in that same flavor class with Blue Dream and Granddaddy Perps. They were all pinene and myrcene plants.
Okay.
Linalool is more. You see it in some blueberries, and I've heard you see it in Soma's lavender, but I haven't actually seen it up there.
I've got the purple indica, which is like an old purple variety from up here in the Northwest, and that's it gets described as lavender often, but I was just curious if like it's different than, it smells different than Urkel, but Urkel is like real sweet, kind of like what you're saying, like a Blue Dream smell, but with a slight hint of purple, whereas like the PI, or what's also known as the ultraviolet, or like UW Perps, that is like pretty purpley lavender kind of smell.
Well, I know we extracted 1,500 kilos of lavender for a company, and when I opened up the chamber and drained the stuff into a drum, my son and I both, at first we thought, wow, overpowering smell, and then a few minutes later, he said something and we started giggling, and then we couldn't stop giggling. We were really, really, really high. We had to go outside and sit on the ground for a while and stay out of the room because everything was funny. You know, you'd scratch your nose and you were laughing. You'd touch your fingers together and it was funny. And we were cracking each other up with the stupidest stuff. And it was all because we were exposed to those pure lavender terpenes, and it had a really strong effect on us. We had about 50 gallons of it at the time, which is why probably.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I've got some myrcene and some linalool mixed up here, not from cannabis. They're synthetic terps from analytical lab, and dabbing those on some extract, and it really puts a nice flavor on it. And it for sure has an effect too.
No such thing as synthetic terps, just not cannabis-derived terps.
Well, I don't know if they're synthetically derived or they're extracted or what they are.
They're just extracted from another plant source. That's all.
Yeah.
What a mix of those two terps? What like cannabis varieties would you say are similar?
Really tasty.
We found one variety down in California that was supposedly a blueberry, but it didn't have any blueberry that I'd ever seen before. It was a different terpene profile, and the top two terpenes were myrcene, and then linalool was the second one. And it's quite rare to see linalool in large amounts. You know, you see it in the OGs and the cookies, but it's usually the fourth or fifth terpene in order of prevalence, right?
Right.
So it's really quite rare to see it as the top one or two terpene.
It's the second clarinet in the orchestra.
Everybody needs a solo now and then, don't they, I guess?
It's not the bass drum, and it's not the first trumpet, and not first violin.
Yeah, but in some variety somewhere, it's going to come out in front, right? And so, I don't know. I think they all have their beauty.
Ryan, remember that paper that you shared with me? I mean, linalool is a terpenoid, right? It's an example of a
it's a terpene alcohol.
Yeah, terpene alcohol. So a terpene that's been oxidized, so it's a terpenoid because it has the oxygen on it. So there seems to be a prevalence of the oxygenated terpenoids in certain strains, doesn't there?
That's according to some of the work that's been done recently. I'd like to see that tested outside of the lab. What the implication was in that paper is that might be a genetic factor that you could select for, right? Something that is actually oxidizing terpenes.
Right.
And so if that were the case, that would, it would be interesting if you could move that genetic factor into different terpene profiles and see how it altered the profile.
I've got another question. So do you guys think that, because, I mean, how many cannabinoids are there potentially in cannabis? Hundreds, right? Or at least 150 or something, right?
No, I think there's more like 90 or something.
Okay, 90. Do you guys think that some of the presence or some of those cannabinoids even have a flavor?
None of the cannabinoids that I have tried have had a flavor,
Okay.
or much more than the very slightest of slight smell. They're coming from the terpenes.
Okay, I was just curious if, because we don't ever test for the other 90 plus cannabinoids, and
What is too high molecular weight
have the effect on the flavor when you smoke it was just, what you're saying.
All I've tried is the top 12 cannabinoids.
Most of the
Right.
cannabinoids are really found in quite small amounts. You don't see them in, you might see 5 or 6 present in significant amounts, not including both the neutral and acid forms. But, even CBC and CBG are mostly found in pretty small quantities, and then any of the really rare stuff is just stuff that they've detected. It doesn't mean that they've got a plant that's producing 15% of that compound.
Or even 1%.
Yeah.
Right. I was just curious if they could even have a flavor.
too high molecular weight, they're not volatile, so they won't be the same type of profile that you would get from squeezing a lemon, squeezing a grapefruit, or sticking your hand into a bunch of pine needles. You're just going to get the volatile essence of what's coming off, which is the terpene.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest getting your weird smelling stuff archived there into the lab, have it terpenoid tested. Get a GCFID run. And then see what you got. See what different smells you got.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will. It's just a matter of finding labs that it's worth taking it to and spending the money with at this point.
Are you testing in Oregon?
Yeah, but I mean, the labs down there are pretty much a joke at this point. I mean, I took in material and they tested the flour and the hash from it, and one of them came up with pesticides. The hash came up with pesticides, but the flour didn't. Got it retested at a different lab, no presence, right? So it's just a matter of like pesticides that I've never even used before. One was like rat poison or something. It's like I'm not making hash in my fucking garage with on the floor.
Does that stuff get reported back to some regulatory body if you have failures?
You have to, yeah. If it fails twice, then you have to destroy the product.
The problem with the labs is it's not the equipment they're using, but it's the know-how of the person running the equipment. And you can take 10 different lab samples to 10 different labs and come up with 10 different results. I mean,
right.
I've seen it.
And that's my problem with just, I'm not going to spend money for scientific data unless I know it's going to be valuable data. So
Go buy yourself a GC with an FID or a GC with a mass spec on the end. Take the time to learn how to run it for what you need to understand, and then start turning out your own paperwork on it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of investing the time, the energy, the space into it. And I pretty much do everything else. We don't outsource making hash or growing or any of our processes. So, I mean, testing's kind of I need to hire someone at this point.
Absolutely. The person that runs that equipment is more important than the equipment itself.
Right.
John.
I don't think I should be running it. It's not that I'm incapable.
No, you need to hire a bachelor chemist who understands the precision and the accuracy of the measurements that are being made.
No, that's not true. You get a bud, you shove it in the front of the GC, and it tells you everything. Don't listen to Mark.
That's what I've been doing.
I think Pinocchio's nose is starting to grow. I see it growing. There it is. It's got bigger. Pinocchio, you're spinning bullshit. You can't do that on camera because your nose is going to get bigger.
You're just jealous because we can shove a bud into any GC, any which way, upside down, and we get better results than NMR.
What is a method of determining whether the bud's upside down or downside up?
You have to feel the vibes.
Yeah, we just rotate the GC. Anyway, this conversation is getting silly.
I got bounced, so I don't even know what it's about.
We're just talking about the reliability of testing labs and making sure that we can establish a standard set of methods that and good, highly trained people. I think John hit the nail on the head. Is you got to have someone who knows what they're doing. And yeah, a lot of this pesticide contamination isn't coming from the gardens, it's coming from the labs themselves.
Well, hold on a second now. I don't think you can actually say, like, can you say that there's been one documented case where that's been the actual happening? You know, like there might be sample switching or something like that, but sample labs now are contaminating the sample. Labs are contaminating the sample.
It's easy to
No, well, it could be a dirty sample, then contaminate samples after that due to using a similar equipment, the same space or whatever, right?
Well, without cleaning the equipment between tests, that's a high likability to happen in any case.
Well, that or they just tested something that was really, really dirty and everything that it touched, the table, everything is dirty now, right? And now they've got to clean everything, every piece of equipment that they have.
Well,
yeah,
all that goes
protocol though, you know, especially in
right. But when they're trying to sell you on 24-hour turnarounds because the state's doing that, you know, they're doing so many samples and they're trying to do it quickly because people need the product. People can't be waiting a month for a test to come back, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably very specific.
This is the reality. Well, this is the reality that we're facing, especially here in Berkeley, is that we're told that we have to conform to these standards, but necessarily we're finding that the standards are changing because now these laboratories are able to test for more and more pesticides, and we're actually finding product that was passing before is actually popping. So I don't.
Yeah, so for example,
I don't think there's any validity to that. There would be enough of a contamination on a table to give a high enough spike on
it was a 1 ppm or something like that.
These are significant spikes when we're dealing with pesticides and.
No, but I'm saying that my product that was contaminated at their lab or got a contaminated result from them, because they test for like 28 pesticides up here in Oregon, and we have been testing since I opened my store. So it's not like I know what products I use exactly, and I know.
For one, you should find out what their lab testing method is. You know, John said you can use a GC, and I guess you can, but
GC mass spec
the preferred method nowadays is LCMS.
Yeah,
right? I know. SC Labs just invested in some LCMSs, and I believe that John Page at Anandia is also doing the same thing. But that's really the preferred way to be.
So what they're doing is they're blowing it into an electrospray mass spec where they're ionizing everything in the thing. And obviously with electrospray mass spec, you have sensitivity down to the sub-part per million regime. So now you're in the part per billion regime, okay? And when you look at the part per billion regime in anything, including food that you buy at the store today, you're gonna find everything in there, dude. It's like taking a lint brush to a New York City sidewalk. When you look at the part per billion regime, you're going to find everything. And yeah, I can't speak what you were asking about before, Ryan. I can't speak to specific examples because I'm under confidentiality, but I can tell you that it's all fucked up. And when you take a GC mass spec, you know that when you inject that into the injection port, it heats it up to 200 or 250 degrees. And so if, like Fletch said, these labs are in the business of grinding out samples on a 24-hour turnaround, they don't have time to clean out their injection ports as often as they should. So there's all kinds of residual shit in the injection port from previous samples if they're not constantly cleaning it out and running controls to show that in between samples, you get baseline. You don't see anything from the residual samples before. But when you start looking at the part per billion regime, okay, think of this. Part per million is 1 in a million, right? When you go from 1 in a million to 1 in a billion, dude, that's fucking 3 orders of magnitude, man. I mean, you could see things that are airborne. You could see all kinds of shit at that level. It's a whole different ball game, man. So if they want to say 0, meaning 0 part per billion, yeah, I mean, if you use that same scrutiny on produce at Whole Foods today, it just won't hold up. It will not hold up. So that's the issue that's here, is that you can't say 0 because we had a sample that was contaminated with a fungicide. It wasn't even a fungicide that was used in agricultural-based products. So you can't buy a foliar application spray or anything for agricultural use that contains this active ingredient. This active ingredient is used for topical infections like athlete's foot and yeast infection and stuff like that. So obviously someone either, got a little bit on their hand. Maybe they were it's used in veterinary products for yeast infections for dogs. So maybe like an employee was applying it to their dog. Next thing you know, that employee is at one of these testing labs handling samples. And now you wonder where this contamination comes from, because again, just like Fletch said, just having a contaminated glove or a contaminated hand on a table, if you're looking at the part per billion regime, you're going to find all kinds of shit. You'll find Viagra. This machine is so sensitive that if you take any dollar bill that's been in circulation, or $20 bill or $100, and you hold it up to the sniffer, it'll find cocaine. Even though there's no cocaine on it, it'll find cocaine on bills. That's how sensitive these techniques are. So again, I think, yeah.
Your characterization of that, starting with the yeast infection of a dog and then carrying on to Viagra, is disturbing.
Okay. Dogs stole things they never had,
Indeed.
It just sounds like some busy dogs, but
yeah, every dog needs a bone, John.
Well, just the fact that a dog with a yeast infection makes a bad picture in my brain.
No, dogs get staph infection. I'm just saying, we found that we looked for the prevalence of this particular fungicide. We found it in no agricultural-based products. It's only used in topical creams, and typically this one's not used for humans. It's used for dogs and horses that get infections.
Right.
Clearly somebody used some and then it got it on their glove or their hand.
Well, I mean, that was exactly what happened though with our test, right? Was it came back with a product that I've never even seen it before, never even purchased it before.
Right.
There's no way it got on my product. It was like a rat poison or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. It's like some kind of shit you'd find in a barn, not it like,
So you growing your stuff in a barn or what?
What's that?
Growing your stuff in a barn or?
Definitely not. But the point is that it's just you're testing positive for things that aren't even in your list of ingredients, much less, I don't understand how it could become contaminated. And then you take it to another lab and it tests clean, right? So not to mention that same lab, right, tested the flour and the hash. The hash tested positive. The flour that it was made from didn't test positive for any of the pesticides. So what? The hash picked it up from the water?
Well, no, probably what happened in that case was Hash is more concentrated form of the flower, and so there wasn't enough in the flower for the thing to pick up on. But maybe when it was in the hash, there was enough for it to pick up on. It's a matter of concentration sometimes.
I mean, but the hash went to another lab and didn't test positive. So what's
well? I mean, every lab's going to come up with a different story. Like I said, it's the operators of the labs that are important.
Well, and that's the only point that I'm making is that the lab that was doing the 24-hour turnaround and all that stuff had the contamination issues. The people that it took 3 or 5 days or whatever didn't. So what does that say? Did I contaminate the product or did the lab? I think it's pretty obvious who did.
What does that say? The 24-hour turnaround, those guys are just banging out samples, sending out data, banging out samples, they don't break down their instruments, they don't clean them, they don't run standards. You don't know how valid those results are.
None of those labs are running a constant baseline test in between tests because they can't afford to do that money-wise or time-wise. So they just keep putting one test in after another. If they were forced into cleaning the equipment between tests like they should,
that wouldn't be an issue.
Some of the labs are in the process of getting ISO certified. So, you know,
I'm not willing to spend my money until there's a lab that can actually, you know, show me that they're running a legitimate business here and actually providing me data that I can actually make theories and stuff from, not just a bunch of bullshit. That's whatever whatever they'll turn around so that you can sell the product.
You can demand calibration sheets. They should be calibrated before each test, and you should demand.
And it should probably be tested in triplicate. You know, I mean, that's how almost everything else is done.
Well, no, you're not paying the price to have it tested in triplicate. You know?
I'm just saying, if the state wants you to sell the product to the consumer, I'm just saying they make you do it for pills. Why wouldn't it be any different for cannabis?
When they manufacture pills, they manufacture millions of pills. Nobody manufactures millions of cannabis yet.
Well, not only that,
millions of grams happens every day. I mean, you should see some of these farms in Oregon. There's huge 20, 40,000 square foot farms. That's canopy size too. So
yeah, but that's nothing compared to how many pills they turn out every day.
I'm sure it's, you can't just do it carte blanche. One test for 1 billion pills. There's certain volumes I'm sure they have to test every 100,000, every million.
It's not a good comparison though. I mean, cannabis is a natural product that has variation within the plant, you know, even from branch to branch.
I'm just pointing out the standards that are in other industries. I'm not arguing that what it should or shouldn't be. I'm just pointing out what it is elsewhere.
Well, you can't have the same standards for ketchup that you can for grapefruit juice. It's just, you know, it doesn't work out that way.
I mean, it's if you're determining whether it's safe for someone to consume, I don't see how it's very different.
Well, look,
I mean, analyzing it for what it is, yeah, sure, but like analyzing it for whether it's safe about pesticides, which is what we're talking about, I would test for similar things.
If they start looking at apples in parts per billion, you're going to find out that there's a lot of arsenic in it, and you know that's going to throw a scare into people, and they're going to say, "Oh, apples have got arsenic in them, and you know they'll poison you." And so it's a level that they're choosing to test on. No need to test for parts per billion because a parts per billion laboratory is a special place. You know, it has standards that or exceed anything that you would think of normally. When you go into a parts per billion laboratory, it's you got double doors, you got special clothes, you got procedures before you enter it, and that's because what Todd was saying earlier, or Mark was saying earlier, is you in a parts per billion machine is so sensitive. Even just touching something outside the room and going inside and then interfacing with the machine can cause it to read that. So
you know, I want to bring something up though, is, you know, all of our piss testing is done at nanograms or parts per billion. And the reality is that these labs are everywhere, and they've been using them to convict us for decades. And the other side of it is we have cutoff levels. And the cutoff levels are really what we use to determine if a sample is contaminated or if a sample is positive.
Look, even police laboratories are busted all the time fucking up on looking at stuff by not cleaning the equipment up before, after, or having bad operators. So it's not like it's not something that goes across the board. You know, all laboratories are subject to it.
Hey, Todd, you know how they determine those numbers? Those numbers are basically determined by the sensitivity of the machine. They went as low as they possibly could, 9 nanograms per liter, bam. That's what we could determine reliably. That will be the cutoff, therefore, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, crickets.
Yeah. That's the same way they pretty much do everything. This engine will turn out 400 horsepower. That means you probably can't make it turn out more than that without breaking it. So could be
I just think the case is with most of these labs is they're in the business of selling tests, not an analysis. And that's the case for most of these labs, especially in states like Oregon, where, and like especially recently, because I mean the state had like this October 1st cutoff line for bringing in medical products. So they were literally slamming out tests as fast as they could do it because every store was getting product tested, right?
So what will go along with ISO certification will be quarterly audits of those labs. And so those labs will be audited by an independent third party. And to maintain ISO certification, they'll have to show their records and their logbooks that show routine maintenance of the machine, continued training of the operators.
And calibration sheets.
And calibration, exactly. So when ISO certification happens in this industry, the labs that are not ISO certified, that are not able to show those kinds of records and results will just be out of business.
Right. I can't wait for those days, because then I'll actually feel confident purchasing analysis and being able to actually come to conclusions about what I actually have.
Yeah, but
I agree.
I think the stake that you have right now, I mean, I would venture to say that making an investment in in-house analytics for you in particular would be a really smart decision up until that point comes, because then you'll have your own independent analysis and your own independent data to refute laboratory data that you believe is just bogus.
Right. I agree. It's, you know, got to find someone to do it.
You find yourself a 3rd or 4th year PhD chemistry student who's looking for extra work. He'll know a few other guys who are looking as well. You buy yourself an older GC with mass spec on the end of it, and
buy a new GC, please.
Well, I'm going to consult on you guys to get it set up.
Hit me up. This is what I do, man.
Yeah.
But I would recommend buying a new GC just because you don't know the crap that was run in that GC before. I mean, they might be able to show you a set of curves that say, hey, this is clean and this is operating. But again, remember that those injection ports is basically like a frying pan. And a lot of the compounds, and this is, again, part of the reason why I like NMR, is because it's at a room temperature analysis as opposed to GC, which heats the stuff up to 200, 250 degrees, which causes all kinds of chemistry to happen.
Well, I had the SRI 8106C from SRI, and that machine for a year showed me and taught me a lot. And really, they're like 10 grand US here in the area. I'm pretty sure you can find one used. But that machine for a year taught me so much, and I was able to look at things. I mean, a lot of the stuff I kept to myself, but I was able to take a look at how I was able to grow different ways with hash and stuff. That's where you're going to learn your best, is just kind of understanding it and learning it. And you're just looking at peaks and you'll understand it. It's not really that hard to learn, but once you get into it, it's very interesting and you have a lot of fun. And that's me. I did it for the last little bit, and it was nothing but experience, and I learned so much from using that machine. It taught me so much.
So John, what was your reason for looking at in-house analytics? I mean, you were like with Fletch, like looking to do pesticide analysis, but what was your reason for wanting to buy that to have for yourself?
Well, I worked with the Green Cross and Dr. Hornby for years in the beginning, from 2006 to 2009, and understanding for me, it was about standardizing and being able to have the same medicine over and over, and being able to test and seeing how the plant was growing and where I was seeing the peaks and stuff like that in the beginning. I didn't get to learn about the extractions. I was only able to I wasn't using the machine. Paul was doing the initial analysis, but I was like prepping and understanding it and learning all the work. So once I was able to have the opportunity to actually obtain and be able to use one for a year, of course I took that and was able to start taking a look at the hashes, take a look at the 73, 90, 120 microns. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from when a heat extraction to a non-heat extraction where we saw different terpenes and the fats. I've learned a lot, and that was probably the best thing for me, is understanding more about what I'm taking every day for my medicine. So for me, extractions came a really key point in understanding my pain. So that was the next step in me understanding what was going on with me, I guess, just how things worked.
But this machine that you were talking about for 10,000 US, this is not looking at part per billion, trace contaminants like pesticides we were talking about. But what you're looking at is, the
cannabinoid profiles, right?
Cannabinoid profiles, right?
And you can see if there's like butanes or anything like that. You can put different things into the GC, of course, so you can take a look at different what can be in the material. So I know you can calibrate more to it. I only had 6 different cannabinoids in there. Plus I have the terpenes that you can put in there, with 24 different terpenes. So there's a lot you can do with that particular GC. And for someone like yourself, I mean, it will teach you so much. Like, people know me, I'd hide out in the garage for like a day and a half, because you start chasing peaks, you start really understanding and taking a look at how things are developing for your medicine, and how things, just even how the plant grows, seeing when your THC spikes, understanding heat fluctuations in my room due to that fluctuation of THC. It's just interesting in how you were able to, how I've learned over the years, because it's just been something I've wanted to learn. It's just been like, I just kind of got to know, right? And that's what you're into. You kind of got to know for yourself instead of taking it to somebody else. Really, you'll find so much more in understanding and learning yourself. And like I said, the SRI team, I called them like so much on holidays, on Saturdays. I really, he would laugh. He goes, "Okay, John, you're becoming an expert at this now," because I asked him so many questions. So it's I know you don't have the time, but you'll make time, because it's what you want to learn.
And John, this was the machine that you did the ceramic metal halide study on?
Yeah, and the Endomax, and I saw the different. It's all the research that I did on taking a look at even par rating with lighting and stuff like that, where I saw where I was getting more THC, where the resins. Yeah, that was all that whole thing I needed to know, and it was just kind of something that I did, and it was releasing a lot of the videos I was doing, but a lot of the testing, because I am not a chemist, and I didn't want to get like hit with all these kind of different things, you know what I mean? So it's all my own research. So a lot of it came out, and you could see it in my videos when I talk about and stuff like that. So like I said, I'm just the guy that needed to understand and learn more about how I was able to deal with my pain, and really learning the terpenes. When they put those terpenes underneath my nose, it took that pain away after surgery. It was just like, okay, now it's like a whole nother level, right? So I mean, we're always scratching the surface. So that's kind of the next step, and that's, even with the terpenes of Blue River and all these things that are happening, it's really understanding. And I think that's what you need to do, is you just got to understand more and learn it for yourself, and it just opens up more doors for your research and what you want to what you're doing. I don't know,
John. You know what you discovered? You discovered the magic key, and that is instead of asking why, you decided to ask how.
Pretty much.
That's pretty much, people who ask why all the time never really get the other part of it. And you pushed yourself to the other side because you needed to understand. So you asked yourself how, and that's the most important question.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Thumbs up.
I like asking why. I like trying to figure out why.
Oh, we all try to figure out why. Is why, how. But you know what? For me, I needed to know and understand how that plant was working so well for me. And it all started back to when I fell, right? So back in 2005, and that's where everything changed, to really understanding how this plant was able to heal me, and truly learning how the steps and understanding more and more as the days go on. It's just kind of, that's why we're on House Church, right? Because we're educating and telling people how and what affects us and what we've been experienced. And I think that's what people like about the panels. We experience this and we're true about it. And that's what we really want to know. It's kind of a lifestyle, I guess. I mean, everybody here, it's kind of what we do. We love it. It's a plant. It's healing of the nation, that Richie Spice says.
Crickets.
Hey, Johnny. let's have a bong rip, brother. And every other you mother lovers out there. Let's bong rip.
I'm ahead of you. Beat you to it.
I got in first. I just didn't announce it, I don't think.
Hey, T, how is the Slayer show, man?
Your videos are incredible.
Fucking absolutely incredible. There's not a word I can say to describe how fucking awesome it was. Because, wow. It was my Slayer's my all-time heavy metal band that I grew up listening to since 1983 when they released their Show No Mercy album.
So tell us about your evening.
Pardon me?
Tell us about the with them.
Well, you know, it's awesome how the universe works on my side with me, because we were sitting back here thinking, you know, we're waiting for a call from someone to hook up with people and help some people out and make some people happy with medication. And I was thinking to myself, well, are we waiting in van? Are we waiting out there? And it just kind of turned into, okay, well, you know what? Maybe we'll just head out there. We'll be early and we can hang out at Johnny B's, and we'll just be prepared and ready to go when they need us. And then literally we sit down at Cactus Club to have lunch. We ordered lunch, and the road crew guy phoned me up and said, "Are you guys part of the sound check party?" And we said, "Yeah," because we had the VIP stuff and everything. And he says, "Well, it starts in 20 minutes, and we happen to be 5 minutes away from the Coliseum where it was being played at." So the universe pushed us out there without us realizing when we were supposed to be there or anything at all. And we got to do the sound check with them and watched them. And I talked with Kerry King for a minute. We talked about goatees. I told him I had my starter kit going. And we just kind of laughed a little bit. And we talked for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It was pretty cool. And then, you know, that was the meet and greet. And we didn't get any pictures or anything like that with anybody. But then we got beside the side stage, and watched them there. And I got some videos up on that and some pictures on the Instagram and Facebook. And then the guy that I helped out there, like, I don't want to really say too much because I don't know if I should, right? But just put your fucking minds together and figure it out, everybody out there. But that guy, I said, I'd like a picture of these guys. That's all I kind of want from this situation. He was like, "Oh, these guys don't take pictures and they don't do that stuff." But you know, we'll see what I can do. So they gave me gave us after show party stickers to put on the chest here, and then waited at the end of the show. We're watching the stage get broke down, and it's like an anthill, man. People are on this stuff, breaking it down, and me and my two buddies were the only ones in the Coliseum waiting. Oh, there's a couple other guys to see Kerry King, but then they took us in the back, and I hung with the road crew, Tom Aray's brother, and another guy, Warren, another guy, Jake the Snake. We all hung out. We all burned fucking heavy and very impressively. These guys can puff tough. They're fucking right beside a guy the whole way. Like, there was a point where I was like, holy shit, where do these joints keep coming from? I didn't even see them roll these fucking things. And they're congers. They're big ones. And then Tom Araya came in the room, and we hung out, and we talked for a few minutes, like fucking just man to man. And it was like, fuck, it was like I was literally a fangirl at a Beatles concert that just got touched by fucking one of them on the fucking head or something. I could have fucking fainted or something. Inside, I was a little girl screaming and squealing and fucking stamping my feet and fucking losing it. But I maintained my cool, and I shook his hand, and we got a picture together. And the one guy that I was talking with, that I believe you hooked us up together with, Mark, was messaged me and told me that that is a very rare occurrence. Tom never ever does that type of thing, and I felt really fucking honored that he did that and come into the room and took a picture with us and talked with us and, you know, just conferred with us. It was fucking awesome.
Dude, you'll never ever forget that, right?
Ever. This is like one of the highest, besides my children and my grandchildren, this is it. That is the next fucking thing that hit. That's on my list, man, of absolute amazing, awesome, fucking the coolest things I could have ever done. And he also said that the road crew said that they had burned the best they had ever burned all tour from D420K. So that is just fucking amazing, man. Like, that's the other part that just fucking pops my fucking head off, man. I'm telling you. Like, thanks for the hookup, Mark. And Mark.
Oh, no problem, man. Awesome.
Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. That's all I can say.
You're so animated.
Very cool, dude. That's fucking awesome. We are gonna have to mute both your mics because as I'm talking, it is creating a wicked echo. There we go. It was just D420K. I guess we've sent the link out to Mowglie Holmes, and hopefully he's going to be coming in here in the near future. I think is that correct, Chimera? We sent that link out. Perhaps. Huh?
They're muted. Remember, they're muted.
Yeah, but they must know they're muted, no?
Yes, we're just.
Oh, I'm muted? Oh, I didn't even know I was muted.
Yes, the link was sent, so we're
Yes,
waiting.
we sent Mowglie the link, and I'm hoping he'll be here.
All right, well, great. That's wonderful. It's pretty awesome to hear that the D420K was the best Slayer puffed all tour. That's where it's at right there for sure. That beats any photo, but then getting the photo too was pretty awesome. I also was surprised to see that photo. I was like, damn, look at that. Those guys got in. Good for you guys. Well deserved. Well deserved by two good dudes.
Isn't it great how music brings these great happy events to people? Like, it just, I witnessed it last night in the arena, Mark, and I was looking around and everybody, you know, was just all synced up, man. And the music just, you know, brought everyone together. And here it is. Everyone's having this collective vibe, and very different music than Slayer, certainly. But music is where it's at, I think.
Yep. And then, of course, cannabis, you know, cannabis and music, because music and cannabis is like peanut butter and jelly. They just go well together. There's no doubt about it. I tell you. How many people smoked their first doobie at a concert? I mean, come on. I'm sure there's a few of you out there. Or at least their first great doobie at a concert.
No, I was having a machine gun concert across the road shooting it.
I know. I also wasn't at a concert, but I'm just saying for those of you that were, there's got to be a few.
My first concert was, I went to Woodstock when I came back from Vietnam and got on some kind of acid from someone there that was.
I don't know what he said.
It was very, very, very amazing. I mean,
the brown acid.
I don't remember what it was. I just remember that I could sit in the pond. There was a bunch of people in the pond, and then the last day I was there, when they were cleaning the place up, the farmer came over. And he was hauling a huge alligator turtle out of the pond. Nobody got bit by it the whole time. I mean, there was at times 35, 40 people completely stoned. I mean, really high in the pond. So I'm pretty sure that the turtle was just grooving with everybody.
Those are not turtles to fuck with, man.
Nobody fucked with it because he didn't bite anyone. I mean, you know.
Jesus.
It was a good size one. He was the size of a garbage can lid.
He said, come on, my lord. Who cares?
All right. Now we're going to mute you guys again. Boom. There you go.
I see Rob popped in, but he's been quiet.
Yes, I think he did pop in. I tried to welcome both him and D420K, but then I always feel bad interrupting people too. So I think I just best to welcome people through the chat aspect when they come in, and I'm unable to say. I always feel bad not being able to say, welcome D420K, welcome Rob Clark, welcome whoever
Well,
else.
why, thank you very much, Mark. It's so nice of you to welcome.
Yes, well, you are always welcome, that's for sure. But I guess it's nice to be welcomed as well.
I'm just hanging out. I was kind of waiting for Mowglie to come on. That's it.
Awesome. Yes. Well, we'll hope that he comes on here in the next little bit. I'm sure he's a busy guy, but it'll be interesting to hear the conversation that ensues, the strong finish to today's Hash Church. I think it's going to be a good conversation.
I shall be here.
Excellent.
Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
He will be here. Well, we got 721 people watching live right now on Hash Church, wondering what's up. I know one of the things that's up, which is for next week. We have potentially spoke with Dr. Natasha, and she was talking with Colton Turner and his mother, Wendy. And it's been a while since they've been on Hash Church, so they were thinking about maybe making another appearance, letting us know how things are going. He's obviously a big activist now, and he's really quite involved, which is wonderful to see. It'll be nice to share the channel with him for the episode and let him tell us exactly what's going on and the things that he's learned and how his health is. I think that Dr. Natasha will be here for that conversation as well.
He has been an amazing advocate, and so is his mother. They have really embraced the opportunity they have for Colton's healing and have really spread the message to people. And they've been going around. They're not resting on their laurels. They're going around and making people aware of the benefits of Colton's medicine, and nothing but mad respect for them both. One, for the patient to, come out and be an advocate is challenging in itself. And because a lot of us know what it's like to not have family support you, but then to have your mother become as strong an advocate, making sure that you get out there to get your voice there is beautiful, and mad respect.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I will agree as well that it's nice to see. I've always had, my family has always been fairly quiet about it due to the nature of the work they do. But recently my own mother posted like one of my interviews on her Facebook page, and it kind of brought me a little teary-eyed, thinking that finally, all these years later, she's able to support me in a very like outwardly way of sharing a link with, and mentioning my son is a cannabis activist or whatever. And these are some of the things he does. So it was nice to see my mom post that. That's for me quite a level. It's nowhere near where Colton's mom is at with her level of activism, which is very commendable. But it's nice to see my mom coming out of her shell nonetheless and allowing a little bit more, because it's the sharing, right? It's when you choose not to share the information that you dam up that knowledge with all the people that that you could share that information with. So it's nice to just let it flow freely. Don't dam up the knowledge, especially when it's good cannabis knowledge.
One of these days, she's going to blow your mind and roll up a doober.
Roll up a doober. Indeed.
My mom and dad, I was able to talk them into smoking one with me when I came back from Vietnam. My dad and I were in Vietnam together, but he came back before I did. And when I came back, I was able to talk them both into smoking. They smoked the whole thing through with me, and they sat there staring at me for a long time. Dad got up, got something to eat, and went to the bedroom. Mom followed him in. There was quite a bit of banging coming from the room all night. And then the next day, my mother said, "We're never going to smoke that again." So I don't know what happened.
Well, you get an idea.
Yeah, I did. I have 10 brothers and sisters. So yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, my dad told me as soon as they discovered what was causing it, they quit, but
it took a while though, hey?
11 kids later.
Jeez. That's a serious amount of children right there. I grew up with one sister.
Yeah, I grew up with 4 sisters, and we grew up in military housing areas, and so there was this, they would open up 2 sides to a duplex to us, but still that meant 2 bathrooms, and 2 bathrooms for 13 people can be a struggle.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 13, and I can attest it sucks.
Yeah, big time. My sister my dad would bring home enough chicken to like 2 fried chickens. And there was 13 of us. And then my sister would always invite her boyfriend over. And man, the forks would fly after my dad got done saying grace. But the 3 pieces I had were very, very good.
Yeah, that's insane. That's a serious amount of people you got. Like, just if Etienne and Indra got together with their families, it would be like 30 plus people.
No, just coordinating that would be hell. Nope.
Oh my God.
Now, plus majority of my family are Mormons or Catholic. We don't get along as it is, and I guarantee you, I don't think we'd all vibe together with Indra.
Damn. Well, let's set it up.
Listen. My mother is Jewish. And my dad's Catholic. So how did that even happen? You know, I think my dad and my mom eloped, and my dad always used to have a picture of a 1940 Ford with about 9 holes in the back of it. And I said, "What are those from, Dad?" And he said, "That was the shotgun your mother's father fired at us when I was driving off with her in New Jersey from the chicken farm."
Shots fired.
Shots fired. But anyway, they stayed together, and so now we got a bunch of really strange kids and our brothers and sisters. And I don't even know what they all do. I mean, it's
so godly amounts of nieces and nephews, right?
Well, when I went to Vietnam, my youngest sister was 3 years old, and so there was quite a spread between us.
Right.
So people just don't have big families anymore. I mean, my wife and I, we only have 2 kids. I think most families I know are like maybe 3 or 4 kids at the most. I can't think of a double-digit sibling family.
No,
well, I had 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls.
Right, but nobody's having 10 or 13 children anymore. I wonder what the.
Where I grew up in Louisiana, there was a family who took up an entire pew. They had 10 of them, and they were all homeschooled. We were all scared of them.
Well, you know, it's an economic dynamic. You know, when in the older days, you had more kids to make sure that somebody was there to take care of you when you were older. And nowadays, you got the government taking care of your ass and sending cheese over and everything. And so.
No, they stopped the cheese. They stopped making the cheese, unfortunately.
Damn,
I used to make the best grilled cheese sandwiches with that, man. I tell you what.
Was that one of those ready-to-eat meals, grilled cheese sandwiches?
No, it was that gelatinous log that they provided you, and you had to somehow hack into, depending on temperature of the ambient room temperature that you could hack into, and then depending on the quality of bread. Yeah.
I missed out on the government cheese thing. I think I was somewhere else. I was probably in India. When,
you really didn't miss it. It probably was absolutely bad for me, but as a kid, it made, like I said, the best grilled cheese sandwiches in the world.
I love a grilled cheese sandwich. In India, the favorite way to make a grilled cheese sandwich is a big slice of onion and a tomato, and then the cheese, and then they grill it after that. It's put together that way, and that's very popular. You can find that in nearly any restaurant in India.
The onion on it, huh?
Yeah, a big thick slice of onion, a big thick slice of tomato, cheese, and then they toast it for you.
With a side of Hep C, or?
Well, you could always get that in an Indian restaurant. You didn't have to order anything special. It came with the same cook that made the cheese sandwich made the tossed salad.
Oh my God!
And stirred it with his left hand, right?
That's just wrong.
The strangest thing in India was when Colonel Sanders went there,
right?
And actually established Kentucky Fried Chicken stores there. And then the next thing you know, you saw an ad on TV, and was amazing, of Indian people eating fried chicken with their left hand and going, "Wow, it's finger licking good."
Oh,
and it was such a dichotomy because in India everybody wipes their ass with their left hand, right? And so that shows how powerful Colonel Sanders was, that they were able to get Indian people on TV licking their fingers of their left hand after eating chicken. And that was that was corporate power for you. That was just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's next level disgustingness for sure.
Well, then in India, you also had the thing where the Brahmins aren't supposed to be eating chicken anyway, so they would send Muslims that worked for them down to Colonel Sanders to stand in line and get 2 buckets of chicken and bring it home, and then the Brahmins would eat it as well. The same guys, the Indians, I rode on planes with them from India where everything was, oh, yes, and da-da-da. And then they got off the plane in Singapore and ordered a steak. And so, suppression is suppression. I don't care what color it is.
Yeah, indeed.
India deed.
India deed. Well played, Etienne. Well played. Oh, Johnny B, anything good going on over there?
Lots of great things going on over here.
Wow, that's amazing. I bet y'all could almost pass a bong.
I mean, this is just like you're passing that bong over. This is what's happening right now. This is the great thing that's happening. I guess
look at the head on you. Bong rip, mother.
I mean, I just landed yesterday.
Let's do this.
Wait, I want to see y'all take a bong hit at the same time.
Let's do it.
I feel fantastic.
Bongs up.
Johnny B's got the bong.
Hey, Johnny, what are you puffing on today? What fine flower flavor?
Okay, so I'm just opening up some dry stuff that I made before I went to Toronto, and it's a full milk powder, so I need a scooper. Do you have a scooper by any chance, sir? I can do a pour. Okay, so I'm just doing sift. I can just grab it with my fingers. I can press it out anyways right away. And just, just some sift that I made. Of course, static, and had some stuff that came out of a trim bin that a friend gave me. He's like, here, can you clean this? I'm like, yep. So he gave it to me, and it's tasty.
A quick public service announcement. Please realize that next weekend is daylight savings time, at least here in the U.S. So we'll be in spring forward, fall back. So we'll be back an hour apparently. Ooh. It's become that time of year.
We'll do what we
fall back and spring ahead.
Y'all do that in Canada, right? You do daylight savings time?
No, we
do.
No, we don't follow that at all.
Fucking A.
I just don't understand the logic of it and why we continue it in this day. I mean, I know it has to do with supposed conserving of natural resources, etc. But it seemed like back in the day it was really set up for farming and for farmers. And we're no longer the agrarian society that we are today. It seems pretty, I don't know, obstructive.
Well, maybe you can't say we're an agrarian society, but somehow we can't manage to continue on without the benefits of an agrarian output somewhere along the line. And we can't keep depending on these corporate farms. It's
I agree. But I mean, if we look at just basic science, 50 years ago, we used to grow at least 10% of what we used in a daily basis. How many here are growing anything that they use on a daily basis besides their flour or flour ingestion or hash ingestion, or even that?
I often do. And I would say that, maybe you're right for most people.
Yeah, I have a garden every summer, but I can't say that that's any significant portion of what I eat. I get most of my good stuff I get from the farmer's market, because even though I like gardening, I found out that the local farmer market has better stuff than what I can grow. So
yeah, that's the reality that I came to. I support my local Amish farmer because he relies on my income or on my business for his income. and I need him to be going because I get really good deals on organic, freshly grown Amish produce for about 8 months out of the year. And it's wonderful to support your local farmers.
Yeah, I do the same thing here in California. We have different farmers markets, and we're pretty blessed to have them pretty much every day, depending on where you are or go around. So you can find, anything you pretty much want or need. We're pretty fortunate that way. But we're fortunate to, again, so go out and support your local organic farms if you're able to, people, or local farming, because they rely, as he states, on you. They rely on us. So if you're not there to buy it, it spoils or goes somewhere else. And I also read a study that the U.S. Throws away about 50% of its produce in the end, and that's minimum, which means probably even more than that if we consider it. So yeah, keep it local if you can and support your local people. And another cool trick is if you're having allergies or if you're having runny nose and stuff like that, go find your local farmer's market and go buy some honey, local bee honey, and it helps build up your immune system to your local flora and fauna.
So good on the throat too.
Yeah, the food that they throw away in vast quantities is usually corporate farm food. You don't see the local farmers markets tossing the food away very often. I always stop at the roadside ones around here because they always have unique vegetables and fruits. There's a guy nearby us who grows strawberries that he can't sell commercially because they're only good for 3 days max after he picks them. But they're so sweet that you can't imagine how delicious they are. When you compare them with, I've bought strawberries at Safeway, big, giant, red strawberries. Tastes like a cucumber, And the local farmers grow little varieties and things that don't get commercialized. The things that get commercialized are big, long-lasting, easy-to-grow things, not necessarily good tasting.
And also aesthetically pleasing. A lot of fruit and vegetables that are wasted are just wasted because it's a bifurcated carrot, so it doesn't look pretty in the bag. So a lot of food is just not used just because it doesn't look normal, I guess.
Yeah, we're going down a crazy road. When I was a kid, you ate everything that mom and dad brought home. The only way I could get out of eating a meal is when my mom would cook liver and onions, and I'd leave the house the day before and not come back till the day after.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure.
Burnt liver terps.
Oh boy, there's only the scatterbeans are the only worst thing than smelling liver.
Yeah, those are putrid smelling compounds, right? Putrescine and other ones like that.
Yeah, the ones that are in poop that give it its trademark smell.
It's air.
Nasty. We can all agree. Nasty.
Yeah, I remember there was the guy in France was experimenting with some of those very powerful odors, trying to process them in such a way so that they could attach some of the stuff from like roses or another smell to them because they were so they put out so much free radicals. I mean, you could smell, a pile of crap from a block away, right? You can't necessarily smell a rose from that far. So he was busy trying to combine that, and I don't know what he ever.
Well, John, did you ever hear of the product called Poo-Pourri? Yeah, Poo-Pourri is a spray of essential oils that you spray on the toilet water bowl before you go, and then when you go, I guess it falls through the film of essential oils that smell like linalool and roses and flowers and everything, and it keeps the poop smell kind of contained in the water. Supposedly it works. Poo-Pourri, check it out.
I use it. I've been using it for over a year, and I can say without a fact it works. I travel with it. It's a great thing to keep your shit tight.
Yeah, like if you have to go poo in like your girlfriend's, small little apartment and you don't want to blow it out, yeah, you whip out your Poo-Pourri, you spray the bowl. I mean, if you think about it, it's an ingenious product. Anything that you flush down the toilet that you have to buy It's an ingenious product like that.
And it's just natural oils that suspend on the top that, you know, like you said, cause the film, so that it's a film barrier for the scent, and it works.
The video on YouTube is absolutely fucking hilarious. It's like a 5-minute video, and they show this very prim and proper young little, you know, beautiful woman talking about birthing, you know, bohemian size logs from her cavernous bowels, and it's fucking.
I have not seen this. Oh my god! I guess
okay. I'll find it and post it on the Hash Church because it's too funny to not watch.
Shit just got real.
Always back to Ass Church, hey?
At least we didn't go back to beavers.
Oh, we're not done yet.
Yeah, we're still haven't finished talking about putting beavers in small cages so you can control them.
Or especially Belarusian beavers.
Yeah.
It's possible either way. Well, we've rocked almost 3 hours on this Sunday afternoon.
What, were we high?
I think we must have been. We've had some hilarious conversation, that's for sure.
I guess our guest didn't come through in the end.
Well, I don't know if he did. I think if he did come in the next 10 minutes, I'd gladly give him an hour. But if he doesn't come in the next 10 minutes, I might have to make it for another week. We will see what happens. Tired.
What's going on this week in the week of Johnny B?
Johnny B. What is going on, Johnny B?
Relax.
Food.
Hanging out with Darrin and Mark.
We're going to eat something fucking meaty.
Halloween tomorrow, so of course we got to do that. And you know, it's Christmas is coming. There's all kinds of great things happening. There's no events going on right now that I'm really coming upon in Canada. Like everybody's kind of taking a break for Christmas by the looks of it, which is nice.
Maybe not.
I hope. You know, it's just like it's good getting out there and talking to people and seeing exactly what's happening here in Canada. It's just amazing to see. Well, you were at Karma Cup, Mark. Like I said, I missed House Church that day because I got caught up in going there and you weren't there. And then I just got caught up in the people and all the people that were just great to be there. It was a really cool event. It was nice to be a part of, for sure. And
well, are you good?
I'm good.
Well, I was only going to add that in December, I think I have now decided, I'm about 90% sure that I'm going to go to the Cup in Jamaica, the Roots Rastafari Festival in Negril on December 9th till 11th, maybe? Does that sound about right?
I was hoping you were going to see her coming to the Emerald Cup same weekend.
Well, I wish I could, but Jamaica seems more realistic. I'm going to try and get down there and see what's going on, check out the event. It's like John said, there's nothing else really going on here in December, and you know, the next thing I go to will probably not be till March in Spain. So hopefully we'll see a bunch of you guys out in Spain for Cannabis. That's always a good time.
I'm gonna try and make it for Cannabis for sure.
Yeah, that's where we first met, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
See?
Don't forget to put me down for Jamaica.
Dude, you want to come to Jamaica?
Yeah, I'm 99% sure.
All right, sweet. Well, let me figure it out, and we'll let you know.
Jamaica just got busy.
Jamaica could get busy. I think I looked at the website. These guys seem to have it fairly well organized.
So what's the status there of the laws there in Jamaica? Has there been any change, or is it still status quo?
Well, right away, they sort of decriminalized the 2 ounces, which is like the police aren't harassing people for that. It's like that was a pretty big deal in the sense that the smell was really what gave them the right to look in the first place. And once you've given people the right to have that smell, you can't really use that same smell as the right to look for amounts. So a lot of people are safely traveling with larger amounts than 2 ounces. Thanks to, it's a perfect example of when a law can be passed which was by no means the greatest version of the law. It's only allowing 2 ounces, which isn't a lot for Jamaican smokers. But
wait a minute, Mark. Unless I'm mistaken, in Jamaica, they can take that 2 ounces from you and give you an infraction ticket.
Yeah, no, not for under 2 ounces. It's over
2 ounces.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what the whole purpose of the law was.
I read the law, and it said that they can seize the cannabis and give you a ticket for 100 Jamaican dollars, which if you don't fine, goes on your permit. If you don't pay it, goes on your permanent record. If you pay it, there's no permanent record.
How much is 100 Jamaican dollars?
about $1 or 2.
So you just give the money directly to the cop and go away with your 2 ounces. I mean,
yeah,
really?
I haven't heard anyone get busted with 2 ounces of bud since that law has passed at all.
Besides that, 2 ounces in Jamaica is what, 4 joints?
A couple joints if you're smoking heavy.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 if you're light.
I can't imagine a cop in Jamaica not taking the $100 and sticking it in his pocket. The 100 Jamaican dollars.
100 Jamaican dollars is nothing to a Jamaican cop. Like even at a roadblock, they'd want to squeeze you for at least 1,000 Jamaican dollars, maybe 2. That'll buy them like a breakfast.
So what's that? $20?
Something like that.
Well, gee.
My friend got pulled over right after the law got passed. We had mad herb in the car and hash. He had a joint behind his ear, and he didn't have his license. We go through this roadblock. I'm like, oh, what's going on? He's like, oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. So he gets out of the car and just pulls 2,000 Jamaican dollars out and says something like, go buy yourself breakfast or something like that. Gives it to the cop, and he gets back in the car, and we drive away. And I'm sitting there like, I think Tony might have been with me too that time. And even though I'd been through enough Jamaican roadblocks, I still could not believe that with no license, a joint behind his ear, the car just reeks, like it's us in the car. We've been puffing nonstop. But yeah, Jamaica's reasonable. They're reasonable.
Yeah, I know in India, you can actually run over somebody with your car for 5,000 rupees and drive away.
Like, is that an accident payment or do you prepay that?
No, you don't prepay it. You pay it per incident.
Okay, so it's an accident thing. So they'd probably charge more if you wanted to premeditatively
what
do
they
it.
charge more for is if you hit a cow.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Bovicide is a serious crime in India. They don't kill cows. I mean, they do kill cows in India, but they do it at night and so that you can't hear it or see it. And it's the Muslims that do it. The Hindus don't. And
so what happens if somebody kills a cow? What happens to the cow? I mean, I'm not caring what happens to the human. Do they actually eat the cow, or do they burn it, or what?
Well, it depends. If you they do this very strange thing. If you hit a cow and you kill it, first you've got to pay for the cow, but then you can take the cow with you. It's your cow. And I had a friend who was driving, and he was from Switzerland. He hit a cow, and he hit it, and the cow fucked him up, and he had to spend some time recovering. It was out in the middle of nowhere when it happened, and he showed up at another friend of mine's place with this car totally wrecked. And my friend's like, well, what happened to the car? And he said, well, I hit a cow. And my other friend's a native guy, and he says, well, where's the cow? Because he just expected him to have it with him because it's different world. You hit a cow here, and you got a whole new set of problems.
Holy cow!
In California, they're kind of protected. If you hit a cow at one of the crossings or something like that, you end up paying for the cow, the damage, everything. They're pro cow here.
What's the beef?
Yeah, well, if usually when a car hits a cow, it breaks one of their legs, and so that's what ends up being the beef. But it can cost you $2,500.
That's an expensive hamburger.
Yeah, no shit.
Or the stakes are high.
Oh, we digress.
Yes, we do.
You get to make a leather coat out of the pelt.
Something along those lines. Well, I'm feeling this Jamaica one anyway. If any of you guys want to come, hit me up in private or hit me up through my social medias. I can send out the links. I'm going to maybe head down there and have a week in the sun in Jamaica. December, not a bad time to be in Jamaica. Go swimming in the sea,
Marcus,
that sort of thing.
when are you going to make it down to the States, buddy?
I don't know. I'm going to, I've got my friend Robert Laurie who's going to help me with my waiver. He's a lawyer and he's good at these sorts of things. So I'm going to have him look into the waiver and figure out the best way for me to get down there. And then I'll be coming down there and that'll be that. It'll be nice. I see Remo doing it all the time and he gets down constantly. He went to Michigan recently when we were in Toronto and he goes down to California and Oregon and he's hitting all the spots. So I need to make it happen sooner than later, that's for sure. What do you guys think there, Sam and Chimera? Do you think we should do this another week with Mowglie?
Absolutely. We'll try again, and we'll try to get him to make a stronger commitment than this time.
You know, he was at a biotechnology conference in Colorado, and I'm sure he's just gotten tied up with people. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. No worries whatsoever. It absolutely happens.
He was at a conference and he thought he would have time after the conference, but yeah, maybe not.
Well, we'll make sure we invite him in another week. And in the meantime, thank you everyone for coming out for episode 110 of Hash Church, D420K and Etienne, Hemp Guy, which is Skunkman Sam and Chimera today. Thanks Rob Clark for making an appearance and Indra, Johnny B in the house. Mark Scialdone, Todd McCormick, who came and left, and anyone else that I'm forgetting about. All of you watching, Archive. Archive was in the house. We got to thank Archive. Thanks, everyone, for watching Hash Church. We will see you next week for episode 111. That is a palindrome episode. If you don't know what it means, look it up. Peace out, everybody.